Please rise for invocation by Father Matt Mello of Our Lady of Hope Catholic Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Father, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Lord our God, look with love on the people of this community and keep them safe in your service. Guide the members of this council and staff. Help them to work together for the good of all. Bless their plans and deliberations and bring them to success. Father, we ask this grace through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you very much. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Father. Clerk, call the roll.
Councilman Foley?
Here.
Councilman Gephardt?
Here.
Councilman Green?
Here.
Vice Mayor Grubbs?
Here.
Mayor Stiltner?
Here. Item 4, public comments on consent agenda items only. Anybody have any public comments on consent agenda items only? Come on up. Welcome. Still sporting the green. I like it.
We had a party last night. All right. What do you need? I'm Shirley Rice.
Tell us who you are, where you're from.
Okay, I'm Shirley Rice. I live on Biro, which is in the sugar forest area, even though we're not included in them. I was going over the agenda and looking at the map on page 4 of 24. That is a very old map. And I'd like to point out some things on it to you. Okay, if you will locate Biro Drive, it's almost in the center, down about 2.5 inches, 2 inches. And there's a big lake behind it. My house is on Biro Drive in front of that lake. Yes, we were flooded twice. Now, if you follow Biro up to Nixon, there's a stormwater lift station there, and it's like nobody recognizes that. I have been told by the council that that is a, excuse me, stormwater, what is it's called something else. It's not a lift station. The lift station is for sewage. That's not a lift station. And I can't find any plans on the web about when, you know, it was built back after Gordon several years ago, and it's supposed to be connected to 4 ponds. One of them is that large pond behind my house, and the other one is off to the left on the map, that one that's shaped sort of like an upside down L. All right. All of the new construction that we're complaining about as groups is not on this map. Sugar Mill Elementary is, it's up in the far left corner. And if that is not a stormwater pumping station, how did we get fish pumped into that about 3 hurricanes ago onto our road? So I need some information about that from you guys. And an update of this map would be a very good idea before you let them start building things. Okay. Oh, and finally, I would like to know where the rules are printed for the new structures, the new buildings, having to handle their own water and where they're putting it. For instance, I'm almost out of time. The new station that's up there, it was told to me.
Sure, we will have I'll have the city manager have somebody from Public Works or Engineering get with you to answer the rest of those questions for you, okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right. no
Thank you,
problem.
Shirley.
If we don't have your contact, Shirley, can you just give that to the clerk before you leave this evening?
It's on there.
It's on here.
Okay, thank you very much, appreciate it. Any other, anyone wishing to speak on consent agenda items only? Consent agenda items only? All right. We're going to recess quickly as the council and come back as the town center group. So, and that looks like that's going to be Councilman Foley.
All right. Ready, everybody? I call the annual meeting of the Port Orange Town Center Community Redevelopment Agency to order. Can we get a roll call, please?
Scott Stiltner,
Here.
Jonathan Foley,
Here.
Tracy Grubbs,
Here.
Sean Gifford,
Here.
Lance Green.
Here. All right. First order of business, item 2, election of a chairman. Do I have a motion to nominate a chairman?
Move to nominate Councilman Green as chairman of the Port Orange Town Center.
And second?
All right. I have a first and a second. Let's call the roll for Councilman Green.
Scott Stiltner,
Yes.
Jonathan Foley,
Yes.
Tracy Grubbs,
Yes.
Sean Gifford,
Yes.
Lance Green.
Yes. All right. With that, does Lance need to do the rest of these, Matt, or do I need to finish out the roll?
Yeah, you can pass it down.
Pass it on down to him?
Oh, man. Already?
Come on down.
Chairman Green?
Enjoy
welcome.
those new duties, sir.
Why don't you pick it up at item 3, Chairman Green?
All right, can I get a motion to, do I gotta do anything, call the roll, or I'm good? All right, can I get a motion to nominate a vice chair?
I nominate Sean Geffert.
Second.
I have a motion and a second, call the roll.
Scott Stiltner,
Yes.
Jonathan Foley,
Yes.
Tracy Grubbs,
Yes.
Sean Gifford,
Yes.
Lance Green.
Yes. All right, is there any objection to the meeting notice? Everybody's got the notice?
Sir.
Okay, being none, the notice is accepted. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of November 6th, 2024 joint special meeting with City Council?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second, call the roll, please.
Scott Stiltner,
Yes.
Jonathan Foley,
Yes.
Tracy Grubbs,
Yes.
Sean Gifford,
Yes.
Lance Green.
Yes. Item 5 is the Port Orange Town Center CRA Annual Report for fiscal year 2023-24. Do I have a motion to accept the fiscal year 2023-24 annual report?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Any public comments? Being none, will you call the roll, please?
Scott Stiltner,
Yes.
Jonathan Foley,
Yes.
Tracy Grubbs,
Yes.
Sean Gifford,
Yes.
Lance Green.
Yes. Item 6 is for consideration to recommend approval of the economic incentive agreement with Commons 4075 LLC. Do I have a motion to recommend approval of the economic incentive agreement with Commons 4075 LLC and
So-
authorize the chairman and agency clerk to execute said agreement?
So moved.
Second?
Well, I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Okay, any public comments on any of this? Final comments from the CRA prior to the vote? Being none, call the roll, please.
Scott Stiltner,
Yes.
Jonathan Foley,
Yes.
Tracy Grubbs,
Yes.
Sean Gifford,
Yes.
Lance Green.
Yes. Is there any further business to be brought before the members of the Port Orange Town Center Community Redevelopment Agency? I have none. The meeting is adjourned, and we will now convene as to the Eastport Business Community Redevelopment Agency.
Thank you, Chairman. Vice Mayor Grubbs, all yours.
Okay, I call the annual meeting of the Eastport Business Center and Community Redevelopment Agency to order. Roll call, please, for the members of the Eastport Business Center and Community Redevelopment Agency.
Scott Stiltner,
Yes.
Jonathan Foley,
Here.
Tracy Grubbs,
Yes.
Sean Gifford,
Here.
Lance Green.
Here?
Okay, election of chairmans. Do I have a motion to nominate a chairman?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to nominate Sean Gephardt, please.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Call the roll.
Scott Stiltner,
Yes.
Jonathan Foley,
Yes.
Tracy Grubbs,
Yes.
Sean Gifford,
Yep.
Lance Green.
Yes.
Hearing that we have a new chairman, pass down to Sean Geffert, number 3, leading on to that.
All right, at this time, I need a motion to nominate a vice chairman.
Nominate Tracy Grubbs for vice chair.
Thank you.
I'll second.
All right.
Who
we have
seconded?
Green.
Thank you.
Yep, we have a nomination and a second. Roll call, please.
Scott Stiltner?
Yes.
Jonathan Foley?
Yes.
Tracy Grubbs?
Yes.
Sean Gifford?
Yes.
Lance Green?
Yes.
All right. If there's no objection to the notice of this meeting, hearing no objection, I don't have any objections to this meeting, do I? All right, good. I might want to object the chairman, but I guess that's too late. Notice is accepted. Do I have any motion to approve the minutes of the August 6, 2024 regular meeting?
So moved?
Got a motion
Second.
and a second. Roll call, please.
Scott Stiltner?
Yes.
Jonathan Foley?
Yes.
Tracy Grubbs?
Yes.
Sean Gifford?
Yes.
Lance Green?
Yes.
Okay, item number 5, the Eastport Business Chair CRA Annual Report for year ending 2023-24. Do I have a motion to accept this report for the Eastport Business Center Community Redevelopment Agency?
So moved?
Second.
I have a first and a second. Any discussion about that? Roll call, please.
Oh,
Yeah,
we need to do
no,
public
sorry.
comments.
Public comment.
Does anyone have any comments about that? No? Okay, none being heard? Roll call, please.
Scott Stiltner?
Yes.
Jonathan Foley?
Yes.
Tracy Grubbs?
Yes.
Sean Gifford?
Yes.
Lance Green?
Yes.
Okay. Final comments for the CRA before we call the vote to close this meeting? None being heard? I call the meeting to close.
Mr. Chairman, reconvene back as the city council at this time. I get a motion to approve consent agenda items 5 through 12.
Move to approve consent items 5 through 12.
Second it.
Call the roll?
Councilman Foley?
Yes.
Councilman Gifford?
Yes.
Councilman Green?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Grubbs?
Yes.
Mayor Stiltner?
Yes, 5-0, consent. Moving on to item E, public participation for non-agenda items. I know several folks have filled out cards to talk about item 21, which is the fluoride item later in the meeting, so I'll hold on to these cards. So if you're here or you wish to speak about that particular item, that is an agenda item, and we will be having that here momentarily. Emma Clark, come on up. And Kat Atwood, you will be next. Okay. Just Emma, before you start, so just a notation on speaking on non-agenda items. So when you come up to talk, if you'll just tell us who you are and where you're from, where you live, it's your 3 minutes to speak. The council doesn't want to interrupt you. We're not going to answer questions. If you bring something up that either someone on the council wants to comment about, we will do that later in our council comments, or the city manager will be able to comment, or the city attorney. So this is your 3 minutes to speak, and welcome, Emma.
Thank you.
How are things in the chamber?
They're doing really well. So I'm here on behalf of the Port Orange Chamber today. I just have a couple of updates, and I wanted to thank you all for your participation in all of our events and being a part of the chamber activities that we have going on. So our next event is actually tomorrow. It is a ribbon cutting for Catfish Commons at 9:30 a.m. And then we have a business after hours on Thursday from 5 to 7 at Masterpiece Jewelers. We started a reverse raffle this week that will be going up until April 25th. You can buy tickets online for $25, and it goes to support the Chamber Foundation. And then on April 9th, we just started advertising for a job fair that we'll be hosting. So we're actively seeking local employers that would like to participate. The job fair again is April 9th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And then on April 16th, one of our signature events of the year is the Tasteful Affair, which will be from 5 p.m. till 8 p.m. And tickets for all of these events are on our website. And then we are also doing a youth civic leadership program this summer that we are taking applications for. And it's a great program for high school students, so those applications are also online. But
Excellent.
that's it for me. Thank you.
Emma. Good to see
Thank
you.
you.
Good to see you.
Kat Atwood.
Mr. Mayor,
Good to see you,
Council,
Kat.
how are y'all doing?
Good.
I'm here to share about an event that we're hosting. Ken and I, for anybody who doesn't know, I'm a patient at Mayo, and I have a brain disease that's very rare, and we're trying to bring a conference to the United States. We got it to the state of Florida. They wanted to put my name and my face to this conference. I said we'd only do it if we got it in Volusia County. We got it. So it's going to be in Volusia County, probably November 7th through 9th. We don't have the dates confirmed yet. We do know that Halifax is going to host it in the conference room there in the towers. But we are going to do a catwalk right here, November 8th at the Riverwalk Park. It will be open to the public. I have links. I'll get those out to city sites later. We'll be seeking some sponsors and stuff. But what it is not, I used to be a runner. I can no longer run. So we took a piece of property over there and measured it out for a half a mile distance. After the national anthem is played, I need a singer, by the way. Everybody will start at the start line, and if you take one step and turn around and finish, you are a finisher, and we will celebrate you, and you will be rewarded as a finisher in any other event that has happened on a race. We have built it purposely. If you see my announcements, it said this is a catwalk for everybody. I have been corrected about 400 times. It is everybody, not everybody, because we wanted it to be open to people with any ability physically. So they can run, walk, crawl, get pushed, pulled, or carried, use a stroller, use a walker, use a wheelchair, or an electric scooter. There is no limit as long as you come out and participate. Cross the finish line, we're going to celebrate. We're actually going to have a red carpet at the finish line. So I hope everybody happily sashays across that carpet, because I will not be participating. I'll be standing on the carpet the whole time. We have media coverage already, interest. I think it's going to do a lot for the city too. I think it's going to bring a lot of attention here. The conference is going to be open to international medical communities, and we already know a couple of people from the United Kingdom that are coming over, and we're really excited about it. So I just want to let Port Orange know first. Ken and I are on schedule to talk to every council, all 16 cities in the county, to make sure that every community is invited and aware of it. And we hope it's the first of many annuals. People are familiar with Me Strong in DeLand. I'm very close to that organization. We're going to try to make this the same in Port Orange once a year. So just want to let you know. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Say that date again.
November 8th. It's a 8 a.m. start. It'll be in front of the chamber building is where it's going to start. And we'll have, if I have a second, I'm going to be contacting all the local schools in Port Orange and asking for singers and cheer squads and teams like that to stand on the corners. So,
Thank you.
all right.
Kat.
Thank you very
Come
much.
walk. I'll opt out of the singing.
Come walk.
If you don't want me singing.
Come walk.
All right. Thank you.
you.
Good to see you.
Matt will do the singing.
Patricia Tolliver. Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Patricia Tolliver. I live at Briarwood Estates. It's off of Nova and Taylor area. As everyone in Port Orange, we've flooded these last few years. We have a canal that runs along the street Normandy, which is a city street. We have 3 or 4 city streets that run through our park. That canal has not been dredged. They do come and cut it, but it has not been cleaned. And we are a 55 and over community. And another problem with along the canal, the street Normandy, the stumps are pushing up into the road. The road is uneven. I've taken many pictures where, the sidewalk comes up to a point, and more than 50% of our residents are 70 years old, and they're out there walking day and night. They all have dogs. The older they are, the smaller their dogs. But, so we were looking for help. We got a petition together. We got 126 signatures. I took pictures of the streets, the street Normandy, and we're just looking for some help. Okay?
If you want, are you done?
Yep.
Yeah, if you want to give that to the clerk, and I'll pass this on to the city manager. I'm not 100%, they know better than I do, but I believe that canal actually belongs to the county, but we'll pass that on if that's the case.
See,
okay?
that's where we're.
That's okay, it's all good.
Keep butting
Yeah, a lot of those canals belong to the county. Can you pass that down to the
Thank you.
city manager? Teresa Perez. Teresa Perez? Come on up, how are you? Welcome.
Yeah.
Okay, my issue is hearing on the Facebook page about the boat ramps. Okay, and then you want to propose on this thing for Riverside to have a boat. That doesn't make sense. I don't understand why you're waiting till August when we have all these people that come from all different places, and the boat, you only have one open boat ramp, and you're not going to have any of them open until after August. There's already fights now, and I know this because my sister got into a fight from somebody not being there, and because I don't know boat etiquette, and they got into a fist fight years ago. So you're asking for more problems with only one ramp open for the summertime with all these boaters. I mean, I've never heard of it. I've been in Port Orange. We moved here in '85. I've never heard of this. This city is really going downhill. I can't believe this. I mean, I'm really disgusted with everything, with all your building that you've let happen, with not taking care of. I mean, we've had hurricanes before destroy the docks, guys. I don't understand what's taking so long to put the docks back in when you know you have all these boaters. That's why people also move here. And we have more people that move down here now. I don't understand why it's going to take until after the summer time to get docks done. It doesn't make any sense. And it's just like the flooding issues. This is ridiculous. And I know where she's talking about because on the other side of Briarwood is Pineland. And there's two Normandies where they have, and then off of Nile Street. There's also canals there that need to be, yeah, they're cut, but they're never drudged. So, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Joe Wozniak, apologize if I'm mispronouncing. Welcome.
Thank you. Joe Wozniak, retired postmaster, New Smyrna Beach. I've been in Pelican Bay for 32 years, coached basketball in Port Orange. I have an issue with the city of Port Orange. My wife was totaled. Reckless driver totaled two cars at Luigi's at Herbert and Nova. The officer at the scene, he ticketed her. I don't know what exactly for, but reckless driving or something. He listed her as a driver and listed her as having insurance with Progressive Insurance Company. It's on the police report, page 2. All cars were towed. The Arrow, Port Orange has a contract with them in Holly Hill. My wife was advised by the police that the Progressive adjuster would go there and estimate damages. After several days of no adjuster and a tow and impound fee that was escalating, I was notified by Progressive Insurance that the car was owned by the driver, the car was insured, but the driver who destroyed both cars, she hit another car and then mine, was excluded from the policy. She's circumventing the system by owning a car, it is insured, but she is excluded as a driver. She's not being held accountable for driving without insurance. The Port Orange police need to do a follow-up investigation now that I got this letter showing she has no insurance and ticket her for driving her without insurance, and then her license is revoked and she loses her registration to her vehicle. I've tried several times. I've talked to the ticketing officer, his supervisor was going to call me. I talked to the chief. Chief was very great, but nobody's gotten back to me. And I would like to refer to you, sir, because I heard you were very versed in traffic and that you would be able to help me out. I'd like you to issue instructions to Port Orange to follow up on the incident in light of the fact that the driver has no insurance. Hopefully they can initiate a process in your investigation, and when they stop somebody that they know they're not insured. I don't know how or what. I think the officer told me he ran their tag, and that's how he figured out she had insurance, but she did not. So if you could help me out, I'd appreciate it. I'm out $7,000, and this is the second or third time she's done this, and she's still driving with a license. So, thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks, Jim.
Michelle, I believe maybe the last name is Utten. Welcome, Michelle.
Good evening, everyone. I live at 5400 Karasti Boulevard, Port Orange, Florida. I am a resident here, and what I have to say is important. I have lived here all my life. I've raised 3 kids here that all of them serve in the U.S. Navy. I have done my duty, and my kids don't even want to call this place home anymore. I am totally against the fluoride in the water. We do not need to be drinking. Our children don't need it for health benefits. On top of that, there is a dentist down the road that isn't for it as well. I'll make sure he shows up again. But in case you don't remember who I am, I served on Governor DeSantis' roundtable along with Surgeon General Latipo. I'm Pfizer vaccine injured. My city, my county, my state, and the entire government does not give one rat's behind about me. And I'm tired of it. I'm suffering from chronic inflammation, demyelation, polyneuropathy, POTS, MCAS. The Yale study came out. I'm still producing spike after 1,500 days. Right now I'm on a cancer protocol, which I just got done. Sorry for my delay here. But now I'm on a cancer protocol. There is no cure for me. Besides me having to worry about paying $17,000 a month for medical, I don't think any of you would want to pay a $17,000 just to stay alive. And that's what I have to do, infusions every week of IVIG. I have to take medications for my heart. I also have May-Turner syndrome, which my blood doesn't flow through my body. With all the expenses that I have gone to my city, my county, and my government, and I'm continuously being ignored. There's more people out here that are injured by the COVID vaccine as well, but nobody wants to address this. There's going to be a time that one of you, if you've taken it, you're going to wonder, what doctor do I need to go to? What test do I need to do? Because these doctors aren't going to see you. I have to travel out of state and to different counties just to see doctors to be treated because nobody will treat me. And if you want to know where I got my shot from, Advent Health. And they have ignored me. And I will put a lawsuit on everyone because my death is on everyone's hands. And everyone has their hands against humanity. And I know many of you up here. Do you want to see me die? Do you want to see me die? So help me God. I will make sure that everyone knows that all of you, including our governor and our administration, doesn't give a crap about me, and I will not put up with this anymore. And stop the fluoride.
Thank you, Michelle. Can you pass those down to Wayne for me? Item F, comments, council members. Let's start with Councilman Foley tonight.
I've got nothing tonight.
All right. Councilman Grubbs.
We talked about this 2 weeks ago with concerns about EV, and I know Chief Marino saw it, and we talked about this 2 weeks ago, and then unfortunately we had a lady of 70 years old get run over on the beach of a EV vehicle, bike, running down the beach. Speed limit is 10 miles an hour on the beach, I believe, and they were running closer to 18 to 20 miles an hour when they ran her over. These are some of the concerns that I have for the city for the future. We got to be proactive for this. So you're going to hear more about this in the future. I just want to keep it out there. People understand that accidents are out there. It's not just our city. We literally had it happen on a public beach. And the more crowded it gets, the more access the EVs are getting because of the pricing. It's going to be a higher potential down the road. April 9th, job fair. I might have missed it. It's held at the chambers?
Yes, it will be held at the chamber from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m.
Okay.
We haven't started advertising for it yet, so it will be coming soon.
Okay, wanted to make sure. And then Team Atwood. Guys did a beautiful job on your Facebook ad last week. She's already got that posted up for the November 8th catwalk. Phenomenal event that she has designed over time, and I'll be there. I already signed up for it. I just had my last surgery, believe it or not, yesterday. So council up here thinks I'm nuts, but I'm here. I'm here for you guys, and we'll be there walking side by side with everybody. So that's what I have right now.
We're glad you're here.
Absolutely.
Thanks. Gifford.
Yes, two things. One, I want to commend our staff, Wayne Clark, our city manager, and our engineer, and our vice mayor, and everyone who put together our program for us to go to Tallahassee and ask for what is very well needed for our community to help with our flood conditions. And we'll talk more about that in our workshop coming up on the 25th, but I wanted to say publicly that we have a team of people and that really care, and they did a fantastic job, and I'm very proud of the way they presented themselves and the reception they received from the individuals they spoke with. We're really working hard in Tallahassee to bring relief to us. You know, the great thing about our city is we're way ahead in the fact that we've secured a lot of funding. We're asking for a lot more, but we're so prepared, and that's going to hopefully help us get ahead in the list of priorities for Florida. There's a lot of people asking for a lot of money, but I'll tell you what, I don't think they had a team asking them like we were. So really proud of Juno and Wayne for your efforts, and Robin, thank you so much. Very proud, and our mayor was with us, and it was a great experience. It's not my first time there, and we were well prepared, and I really appreciated that. Also want to bring up a loss that occurred in the last couple weeks to an educator that taught in Volusia County for 31 years, Leslie Sparks. Recently she was a teacher at Port Orange Elementary, and she lost her battle to cancer. And I just want to publicly recognize her service and the lives that she affected over the years. She was an amazing friend to me and to many other people, and it's just a terrible loss for this community to lose an educator like that who was still working, never got to see a day of retirement. So hug your loved ones. And that's all I've got.
Yep, Leslie taught my kids, second grade.
Councilman Green.
I just got a couple things that I brought up with staff this week. One of my main concerns is a non-emergency line. Our residents are being told to call a non-emergency line when we have issues that aren't 911 issues, and the emergency line is not being answered, and it's not being responded to. And I don't feel as though it's fair to our residents to not have a response. I know of multiple situations where, again, people are calling this number and we're doing nothing about it. And I feel like we need to follow through with something on this somehow. You know, the response I'm getting right now is, well, we're just understaffed, or they're understaffed because it's going to the county and it's going to county dispatch. That's not an answer. I mean, that's just not acceptable answer to me. So I would like to see us figure out how or what needs to be done so that our residents are being responded to, so that we're not calling 911 on something that's not an emergency. But to not get an answer at all, I don't think is acceptable. So I'd ask Wayne and Robin to let's look into that. The next issue I'm looking forward to is the new code enforcement officer coming on board. I think we got a couple more weeks and our new guy is coming on board. I'm looking forward to a revamp of that particular department, I guess. Not saying a revamp, but I'm looking for a new vision and a new goal with the new officers that we have coming on board, the new director we have coming on board, and with us being, again, 90% built out, we need to maintain the levels of which our city is. And we know we have some really nice spots. We also got some really bad spots that need to be addressed. So I'm looking forward to code enforcement and the new officer as we move forward on that. So that's all I got tonight.
That's it. All right, appreciate it. I wanted to recognize Debbie Phillips tonight from Congressman Corey Mills' office. Welcome. We're happy to have you here tonight. Also wanted to just to echo Councilman Gephart's comments about our trip to Tallahassee, up there, trying to do our best to compete statewide with state funding to bring back for flood mitigation projects and other infrastructure projects. It's something to see, right? I mean, it's just the navigation of that process up there, and the state capitol is I'm glad that we've got staff that knows where they're going, because it's you got to have that. You got to have somebody that can help you kind of get around and know where to be and when to be there. I want to also recognize Senator Tom Wright and House Representative Chase Tremont, and thank them for sponsoring our applications to try to get some of this funding. They will not be able to do things on their own, so I encourage those to reach out, thank them, encourage them, ask them where we can get more help from, because they can't do this on their own. And you know, everybody's fighting for precious dollars at the state capitol, try to bring back to their municipal and county governments. So we'll talk more about that in our flood workshop coming up here at the end of the month. So, City Attorney, comments?
Nothing for you tonight.
Mr. City Manager?
I have one thing. Earlier tonight on the consent agenda, we approved, you guys approved us to apply for a fine grant for the day dock. It was discussed earlier. So it was about $800,000 match on the city's part with it that would be covered by fine of the other $800,000. As part of that, you know, we have Teresa Brooks as our grants administrator, and she works with us. While we were going through this project, she found another grant source for us out there, and it doesn't require a match from the city. So technically, by rule, it doesn't require me to I can apply for it without council approval, but I have to bring it back to you to accept it. But this particular grant, which is the Florida Boating Improvement Program, FBIP, does require acknowledgement from council. So whether our policy does or not, I have to get your acknowledgement that it is okay to apply for this grant. It would cover $400,000 of our $800,000 match, and so it would allow us to build the dock for basically $400,000. So if council will acknowledge that, then I can authorize her to apply for that.
I'll acknowledge that.
I acknowledge anytime you can find grant and other people money, yeah, bring it back.
We will go forward with that.
Okay.
Okay, and then the other stuff we have is, you mentioned several people came up and spoke. We'll have staff follow up with them. We've got their contact information. So, and you are correct, Normandy is a county maintained ditch. We do mow it, but we will work with we don't just say call the county. We try to help and call and help out. So Rob and staff will help get everybody in touch with that as we go forward.
Who is the best resource for those that want to find out more about the upcoming boat ramp facility project? Who's the best resource for those folks to call to get information? There's a lot more to that than what you see on social media and meets the eye, and so I want to make sure.
Our Parks Department is, and when we get a little closer, if you would like us to, we'll just have Juno and Susan do a presentation for council to go through that, if you'd like us to do that.
And I know that project
one of the April meetings.
Did it get awarded yet? Do we know?
It did not get awarded.
Did not get awarded yet. Okay, so, all right. Anything else?
No, sir.
All right, very good. Item 16, Citizen Advisory Board for the TPO. Mr. Bobby Ball. How are you, sir? Good to see you. Good.
Bobby Ball with the CAC for the TPO. We had our monthly meeting today. It was pretty short. Basically a small update to the 5-year TIP program. And then I also volunteered to stay on the subcommittee that does the ranking for the project. So I try to keep the Port Orange project up high. And then DOT report, Miles Drive signal is starting this month, if it hasn't started already. And the call for projects by the TPO ends this month, and staff is preparing the application for what Port Orange has going in, and it'll go in before the deadline. And that's all I've got.
I would just under your item here, just make a comment for council, because I had someone ask me about it and confirmed it with the city manager. So when you see some of the rankings of projects specifically for our municipal area ranked within our interest through the TPO, there are different lists, and those particular ones have something to do with us having money or skin in the game, as they say. That doesn't mean there aren't other very impactful projects that would be part of the Port Orange area or the Southeast Volusia County area that aren't on other lists. Those are just other lists where other agencies, government, county, or state, they're funding all of it, and so there is no skin from us in those. So there are other projects out there. So when you see those lists and you're like, well, what about this street or this, Williamson Overpass or something else? There are other lists out there. So particularly for that one. So anything else?
Yes, sir.
So Bobby, you did say you guys are making the list within the next.
So the call for project comes out through the TPO, and then they take all the applications and put the ones that are appropriate for the monies that the TPO can distribute into a pile, and then the subcommittee will go through them, review them, rank them, and then it comes before the full CAC, the technical advisory committee, and then the actual TPO board.
Does it come in front of us, or do we see that
Not-
list at all?
Tonight you had the item that was, the submittal we have for this year is a feasibility study for a trail that would go down the FPL easement,
Right.
link into Williamson and come back down Willow Run, so you'd have this full trail.
Yeah, I saw that one.
And that's this year's submittal. We have about 20 others already
Okay,
in there in
then I did
various
see
funding
it.
cycles.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Bobby.
And I'll just interject one other thing for some of the newer council members. So, so there's a lot of projects, and they won't all get funded in one year, obviously. But I want to say that the staff has done very good at being proactive and having projects ready to go that we can anticipate probably won't get funded this year. But in the past, what has happened is other cities have had projects of interest that have ranked up high on the list, but then they end up not being shovel ready, and those projects get pulled. And Port Orange has benefited from that because we've had projects ready to go. So that's having a staff that is being proactive and having.
Well, what we're seeing is the amount of time it takes to get to
Yeah.
shovel ready is probably a hell of a lot longer than it is to get to the work.
For sure.
To do the work.
Yeah, in some
you know?
cases there is.
Staff's also done a good job of combining different projects
Mhm.
to where they get more points on the ranking system
Yeah.
to get funded higher and better.
Right.
So we're doing pretty good as a whole.
Thanks, Bobby.
Good. Thank you for service.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Bobby.
Now for the public hearing portion of the meeting, item 17, first reading of ordinance number 2025-09.
That's an ordinance of the City of Port Orange, Volusia County, Florida, relating to comprehensive planning, amending the future land use map of the comprehensive plan, amending the future land use flu designation for plus 1.2 acres from the commercial to mixed-use center, authorize transmittal to required agencies, providing for conflicting ordinances, severability, and an effective date.
Can I get a motion to approve ordinance number 2025-09?
I move to approve ordinance number 2025-09.
And then second it?
Sir?
Could we also
Would you
open
like
the
us to
next
open
item?
them? Yeah.
Yes, please.
We're going to open up item number 18, first reading of ordinance number 2025-10.
It's an ordinance of the City of Port Orange, Volusia County, Florida, rezoning property consisting of approximately plus or minus 0.58 acres from Community Commercial CC to Catfish Commons Plan Community Commercial Development PCD, approving the second restated Master Development Agreement, Catfish Commons Plan Commercial Development MDA, and Conceptual Development Plan CDP, providing for repeal of conflicting ordinances, severability, and an effective date.
Can I have a motion to approve that one as well?
I've been motion to approve ordinance number 2025-10.
And I'll second it.
Items 17 and 18 are on the floor. All yours.
All right, thank you. Tim Berman, Community Development. This is basically kind of a follow-up to what you previously approved for the Economic Incentive Agreement. We got to give the applicant something else to do. So he is moving forward with further redevelopment plans for this Catfish Commons area. The project consists of basically adding the property that's the current funeral home property into the PCD, and also doing some amendments to the future use of the Catfish property then. So as stated, basically there is a future land use amendment that's part of this, and it's changed these two existing commercial properties into mixed use. And then the PCD, or the restatement there, would allow for the funeral home to be developed with a mixed use project that can consist of retail on the first floor and up to 8 units on the floors there. Also a 12-slip marina. And then the PCD also allows for the ability to add up to 2 units onto the Catfish building then. And again, that is for future development purposes, just to get the there then. The main focus is on the funeral home for the redevelopment then. As with the restatement, there are a few deviations from the code. Again, we're dealing with infill site, so we typically run into these situations here. So the first one is to allow for the reduced side yard setback. On there is an existing building. The applicant is looking to keep that existing building and add on to it then. So basically there is a request to establish a 4-foot setback, which that building is currently set back, to make that a conforming structure. If the building has to be demolished and rebuilt, then the request is for a 5-foot side setback. Again, that's dealing with a narrow lot to ensure that we could basically get a good sized building on there, along with the separation requirement that is needed then between the adjacent properties. There's also a request for a 0-foot rear yard setback. Again, that basically abuts to the existing PCD, so it's internal within the PCD then. So staff is recommending approval of both of those setbacks then. There's a request for on-street parking to basically back out onto Halifax Drive. We previously approved this in 2022 for the property to the south. This would allow for parking, angled parking onto the, I guess that'd be the east side, which would be predominantly for the marina project there. And then there would also be on-street parking on the west side, which would be about 5 spaces to access the mixed-use center there. There's currently on-street parking there with the funeral home now. The proposal would basically be to improve that by moving it further out to the road and make it an angle, so it had better visibility then. And the last item then is the landscape buffer. The intent is to expand a front yard, kind of an entertainment area then, with yard games, food trucks, deck on this front portion of the funeral home property, take advantage of the waterfront view, and have an activity center there for the retail then. As part of that, and along with the on-street parking there is not significant room for the 10-foot required landscape buffer. So the applicant is requesting to waive that buffer requirement due to the fact that they're basically doing this entertainment yard. They'll have foundation plantings and also architectural treatments on the building to compensate for that then. There's also a side yard setback. The code requires 5 feet due to the narrow building that would be there, and along with the setback then, the request is to make that waiver between 4 to 5 feet, and all the plantings that would be required in a 5-foot buffer would still be planted in here then. So staff is recommending approval of both the MDA, or the restatement, and the future land use amendment. And the applicant is here to further discuss it.
We're going to ask him lots of questions. Anybody from council have anything for staff?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead.
So, when we approve, if we approved this and we talked about adjusting the west side of Halifax to allow some games, cornhole, stuff like that, entertainment, is there like time limits on when that can happen? I mean, food trucks can be noisy, that kind of entertainment can be, depending on the level of
They'd have to comply with
excitement.
the noise requirements, noise ordinance then.
Okay.
So they'd be restricted to noise ordinance similar to all the other commercial establishments in that area then.
Okay, thanks.
Anything else?
No, I have nothing.
Councilman Groves?
Angled parking. I mean, that took care of my first safety concern is, squaring it up and going backing out. We're gonna have accident after accident, but that solved the first question I had. The 5-foot setback, that is on the existing property that they already own at the same time. isn't it?
Correct.
So they're encroaching onto their own. Okay, I'm good.
Their property, their project, for sure.
Correct.
Read anything?
Nah, I'm good here.
All right. The applicant want to come up and talk? Welcome.
Good evening. How you doing?
Good to see you.
Good, I'm through. Brendan Galbraith, developer, property owner of Catfish Commons partner. A couple of things. First, I appreciate your support earlier in the meeting with the support of the TIF. That's important to us. Things are expensive these days, and any participation from a good partner like you guys is appreciated. And I appreciate Emma speaking up about tomorrow's 9:30 ribbon cutting at the corner building, Catfish Commons. So we have the 3 out of 4 tenants open, and we have a commitment from our 4th tenant, which will open late summer. So we're all happy with that project, and I hope you guys are too. It should be a nice morning tomorrow. And I just looked at my phone, so we have Chamber of Commerce weather lined up. It's going to be 65 and sunny, so come on down to the corner tomorrow morning. But this project is just a continuation of what we have going. I'll give you an update on the marina to the south at that 4108, which you guys approved a while back. We're at the tail end of permitting. We just, a week or two ago, we got approval. You have to identify the location for the spoils when you do dredging, so we just, we're going to locate it in the river yard. So, and I've been working with Charles and Tim on that. So we got that letter of approval to the state a week or two ago. And I think we're down to a notification period, which I think is the state sends out, and they have a 21-day response time. And then we got to pay a couple fees, and I think we're done with the state as far as having the land lease in place. and then we'll move into some construction drawings and permitting with you guys. So that's moving along. But we just appreciate your support and answering questions. But I think it's we kind of feel like we have the same vision that you guys do for that side of town. So we're hoping that you're happy with what we're doing.
I appreciate your and your family continued interest in investing and redeveloping in the oldest areas of the city. It's incredibly important, as you know. You travel around the state of Florida, you see other areas of the state that they were booming in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and then they've just been left to go away and fall into somewhat disrepair and ruins. And having folks like yourself that are willing to reinvest in these oldest areas. And by the way, I got to tell you, I went down and she did before tomorrow and took a look at this newest project, and wow, did that come out good. It's, when we look at drawings, a lot of times I got to see it. I mean, you look at a drawing and you're like, okay, I think that's going to work or not work or what have you, and then when you go and see it, and I just want to commend you that, again, what a beautiful project. I mean, it looks good on, just from the intersection, it just looks good. But when you go up there and you actually, I thought Foxtail was open. I got run out of there. They were doing some training, but yeah, but
they're open now.
Yeah, I just got to do a quick peek inside. Beautiful. I mean, it's gorgeous. And so I've already seen people coming in and out. Parking lot's been full, so obviously going to be another great success. And so I do appreciate your continued interest in investing in those parts of the city. So I don't have any particular questions for you, though.
Thank you. Good.
Thanks, Brandon.
Any public comments or questions on items 17 or 18? Robert, come on up. Right ahead.
Mayor, council members, Robert Reinhagen, 1425 Dexter Drive, Port Orange. With regard to the parking in this, right now I've noticed that the people that go to Catfish Restaurant, they park across the street in the Riverwalk area. So that potentially is not going to be available in the future because it might get built up itself. So when they're talking about parking, they're asking for a waiver where they can reduce the buffer zone to move the sidewalk to make room to create on-street parking. And then they talk about the on-street parking is going to serve the marina. And I find that a little inappropriate that public parking spaces should become reserved for the marina. If the marina wants their own parking, they have to buy property to put their own parking on. I object to them reserving spaces for the marina. And then they talk about the units that are going to be built above the building, above the commercial units. And they say that all of the parking spaces are going to be considered common. So that means there's no reserved parking for the units that are above the buildings. And there's going to be another 2 units over above and Catfish. So where do they park? And then they're talking about tandem parking spaces. And those are going to be reserved for employees. So they do have some that are going to be reserved, and they're not going to be common. And I think it's just very confusing, the whole issue. So I'd like you to get clarification of that before you approve it. Thank you.
Thanks, Robert.
Thank you, Robert.
Anybody else wishing to speak on items 17 or 18? Back to council. Any other questions, council? No? To the clerk. On item 17, ordinance number 2025-09, call the roll.
Councilman Foley?
Yes.
Councilman Gephardt?
Yes.
Councilman Green?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Grubbs?
Yes.
Mayor Stiltner?
Yes, 5-0. On item 18, first reading of ordinance number 2025-10, call the roll.
Councilman Foley?
Yes.
Councilman Gephardt?
Yes.
Councilman Green?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Grubbs?
Yes.
Mayor Stiltner?
Yes, 5-0. Brings us to item 19, first reading of ordinance number 2025-11.
That's an ordinance of the City of Port Orange, Volusia County, Florida, approving the First Amendment.
Sorry.
First Amendment to the Master Development Agreement for the Summer Trees Plaza Planned Commercial Development to allow additional commercial uses consistent with the uses allowed in the city's conventional commercial zoning districts, and update signage and architecture requirements to be consistent with current land development codes, providing for the repeal of conflicting ordinances, severability, and providing an effective date.
Can I have a motion to approve ordinance number 2025-11?
Motion to approve 2025-11.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All yours.
Tim Bourbon, Community Development. The Summer Trees PCD is it's located on the west side of Port Orange, basically south of Taylor Road, between Summer Trees Road and Williamson Boulevard. It is the shaded area here in the on the graphic there. It consists of 5 sites. Site A and B are currently developed with commercial uses right now. Site C and D are vacant but have established commercial uses since this was basically zoning about 30 years ago then. Site E is a stormwater pond that serves drainage for Williamson Boulevard then. The applicant has currently about 24 uses that are allowed on that property right now that are commercial uses. The request that they are making is to add additional uses to the PCD. The first is, there's 2 kind of tiers to this, and the first is for site A through D. It would be to allow the use of private school. What's happening on that one there? But it would be to allow the use of private school. It'd also be allowed a microbrewery and the craft food beverage use. That would be on sites A through D then. The second tier is to allow self-storage on and boat storage on site C and D. In addition, with the request to add those uses, there are special development requirements that have been placed in the PCD to ensure that wider buffers are provided, more architectural treatment on that. The buildings are provided there, that the basically the exterior doors of the garages are inside the structure versus outside, and that the boats basically are screened then from the adjacent properties and the right-of-way then. Again, the applicant has made this request then. They are here to further discuss it. And then regardless of any use that's put on either site C or D, it will require a full site plan for staff to evaluate transportation, stormwater, buffers, etc. And some of the questions that came up in Planning Commission with access to the property then. This property, site C and D, does have at least 5 points of access onto existing road network, so it is very well connected to the roadway. And also stormwater has already been built in for this site too then. So stormwater exists for anything built on site C or D then. So for the most part, this site to be developed with any use is essentially parking spaces, building, landscape buffers, and the internal utilities underground then. So staff is recommendation of approval, and the Planning Commission's recommendation with approval, and the applicant's here to further discuss the request.
So is the stormwater that's on site E already calculated in for site C and D, or when
No,
they
there's
develop
actually
C and D,
there's actually stormwater ponds, depressions on site C and D.
Okay.
And then basically flows into site E, and then further down Williamson into eventually Spruce Creek then.
Right, okay, understood. Any questions or comments for staff? Reed?
No, I don't think so. I think I'm all right for right now.
Tracy?
I'm good for now.
Councilman Green?
So you're adding another designation to site A, which is the bank site?
Yes, site A, which is the bank site, would be allowed to have, for terms of redevelopment in the future, that would be the use of private school, microbrewery, or the craft food and beverage could be a use that could go into the bank site if the bank site is ever redeveloped. And then also too, for the site B, which is multi-tenant.
Okay.
Yeah. I think the applicant was looking down the way, basically add these uses as if the banks go out then, which we typically see here in Port Orange. We basically have uses that can go into them.
Yeah, I didn't think it was a brewery, but it's closer. Okay, that's all I got.
Councilman Governor?
Yeah, for site B, would there be a school or a brewery be allowed to be in that existing building now?
Currently, as it fits right now,
No, with this.
if this got approved, that could be basically a use that would go in there. There would have to meet the criteria in the code then, but that is an option for in that multi-tenant building then.
Alright, the criteria in the code, can I have a brewery next to a school? Is my question.
Basically, well, I mean, if there's a school going in there, then basically the private school then would trump then the brewery coming in then. So that would be the criteria that we look at then. Right
So
now,
who
there's
gets
no,
there first?
Yeah, whoever gets there first. We don't have a school in there or a.
Right, so right now, all
Not
these
both.
sites in A and B are occupied right now. So I'm playing devil's advocate. In site B, that's a 4-tenant building right now.
Right.
I think it's, yeah, there's maybe, it's 3 tenants
It's-
now. No,
yeah.
it's 4.
5.
It's actually 4. I think Florida Healthcare is there.
Yep.
And then there's the
Salon.
mobile, there's a salon, and then there's a
Dentist.
So that's 4.
There's a couple, there's
All
one
right.
more
Yeah,
space.
it'd be
available.
So
first
if they all
come.
vacated it, could I have half the building a school and the other half a microbrewery with this designation change?
No, basically, whenever it came in first would basically be the use that's set that then. So if the school came in first,
It's the bank that you're doing the change on, not that
no, we're
shopping-
doing
not
it's,
site
it's,
B,
it's
right?
both. Again,
It's
either
all-
just
oh, it's
either
A
not
through
cha-
D?
either we're not changing the bank, either just adding uses to possible redevelopment opportunities to
Oh.
take the list of uses from 1 to 24 to 28 or
Okay.
27 then.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. So the owner of the building for B could subdivide that to 2 units, correct?
2 units or basically, 1 unit and rent it out.
And then at that time, if 1 unit was a brewery, could the other unit be a school?
If basically in terms of when we look at our license, basically in our code there, if the alcohol establishment is in there first and the school wants to come in then, that is a possibility. Basically, when we look at it from a standpoint of a school existing and the alcohol comes into, that's when basically it trips the requirements in.
I see myself having this conversation 10 years from now, when the economy changes, and some guy wants to put a brewery right next to a school, or a school right next to a brewery.
And I had a sleepover with, my daughter had 4 9-year-olds yesterday over at the house there. I definitely could have used a brewery last night somewhere on that one. And so I'm just saying, there might be something there to it.
Best.
Very good, thank you.
That's a winning line, Tim.
Yeah, you
That is a
got
winning
a little
line.
spring break.
Yeah, one of the challenges that I think we're going to see as businesses change, especially the banking, we already see it quite a bit,
Yeah.
is the need and use for more brick and mortar banks is dwindling quickly as more and more people do everything online.
Yes, absolutely.
So, I mean, that's something all over the United States that you're seeing. And so being active and having, the last thing we want is a bunch of buildings that are sitting, falling apart, being uncared for. We've got an old bank on Nova Road that's been sitting there for, I don't know how long that thing's been there.
You got Clyde Morris, the old Truist.
Yeah,
Bank,
right.
or
So
Sunbank.
Keep
these
it
are
a slide
these
back
are things
over
we're going to have to think about and decisions, and businesses change, and what buildings can be conformed to do and prosper in is going to change as well. So
Yeah.
we'll be seeing more things like that. Anybody have anything else for staff? No.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's
Applicant
just
wanna come up and
dying to
talk?
Come up here and talk to.
He doesn't get paid unless he clocks in.
Right.
The list.
Just
to have
Welcome.
it in.
I gotta talk myself out of it. Good evening, Joey Posey, 420 South Nova, attorney for the applicant. And just to also clarify too, we had a scheduling error on our part. The owner wanted to be here too, and he just couldn't be here tonight. But to maybe give you a little bit of the method of the madness, because in isolation, I think I could understand where you're coming from, but really how we were approaching this was, really what uses can we foresee here that really can capture Site C and D, and also try to expand opportunity to make sure that we can, try to get the highest and best here, but not in a way that would otherwise impact the existing network and system, in terms of traffic and other considerations like that. So, we really backed into what uses we thought would maybe be appropriate to expand it to. We didn't say, well, if the bank goes away, what do we want there? So we'd love the bank to stay there forever. So, that's really how we got there. And there is no short-term plan for any of them to leave. So the other thing that I just wanted to touch on that came up at planning board was the discussion about the storage and the nature of that use. And again, I recognize a lot of the growth that's occurred in the city and some of the places that you've seen these storage facilities. If I had to pick one, this is a pretty good one because it's so tucked in behind everything, and it's hard to see visually, and it's also in an area of the city that if you foresee that this is going to be something, you're trying to tackle it in a way that doesn't impact your networks, that doesn't impact your traffic. That's a very difficult area just from a
quantity standpoint of cars to have to deal with, and storage kind of solves your problem when it comes to those issues. There's no immediate plan. It's just when you have talks with these folks, and then when developers come to you and say, well, what's available, what can you do? You got to be able to say, well, these are the opportunities, and those are tough discussions to have when you say, well, consider this one without the opportunity really being in hand. Like they'll just keep walking. So that's really what we were thinking and how we got to these uses. Utilities, trying to lessen impacts. What uses we thought could lessen traffic impacts. How can we do it in a way that can be tasteful? And that was working with staff in a way to try to create these criteria. And honestly, I think I can solve the problem too with maybe the conflicting of the uses. I don't mind codifying the current rule into this agreement. So if the rule changes, it's always the rule. So there's never a discussion 10 years from now. It's always the rule is what it says in the PCD, and that's what it stays. But those are the things I wanted to touch on. I'm happy to address questions or if there's concerns. Again, we're just trying to make this work and trying to do what we can to encourage something that is sensitive to the folks that are in the area, but at the same time is something where we can get tax dollars into the city and try to get a piece of property that's been sitting commercial for a very long time, developed and operational.
Anybody have any questions for the applicant?
So, I do, I'm
Go ahead,
sorry.
jump right in.
So basically, we have this opportunity right now to make a deal that on site number B, which is all under one roof, that we wouldn't have a school next to a potential, whatever qualifies there in our code, which are many things, and could be a brewery. That's kind of what I'd like. I've been around long enough in big cities where I've seen stuff where I'm scratching my head, how did that happen? And it happened because of meetings like this they weren't addressed.
Right.
And we have an opportunity now to say no to storage. And one of the biggest things that I've heard from my constituents throughout this campaign and being elected was, how do you guys keep approving storage units and car washes? Well, we didn't. It was in our code. It was in our land use plan. So we have an obligation to allow them to do that. But right now in this plan, we could put a 5-story motel there, right?
Yes, that's correct.
And my favorite motel, and I'm being sarcastic, is not one next to a highway. So if I had a storage facility, which the ones that we do have built here are fantastic, and they do hide things, and they do provide a service, and they do lessen our traffic, I'd much rather see that.
Right.
So I like that side of this opportunity to change it, to allow that, so I don't have a 5-story motel that has a lot of transient traffic in that area. I don't really want to see that, but right now we could have that.
Right.
We had an investor come in and do it. So if I could give an opportunity for us not to have that, I'm not actually in favor of it. But I also am in favor of, I just don't want to see a Montessori school right next to something that's not going to be conducive. And there might even be some laws that don't allow that. I don't know. That's why I asked.
I think you've got a willing applicant here that's willing to accept an altered motion and put something in the rule there that we could do to prevent that.
Yeah.
So I made a motion to, did I make that motion?
You can.
No, did I make a motion? Who made the motion?
Who made the motion, clerk?
For first reading on 19. I think I seconded.
You seconded it,
Yeah.
Tracy made it.
I
Okay.
opened it.
Okay.
Let's, we'll finish up comments
Sure.
and perhaps Councilman Grubbs may want to alter the motion.
Can I touch on one?
Yeah, absolutely, go
That
ahead.
site, and again, the vision back when that was to be, along with the lot on the corner, which is now storage, was that the Karasi Park was going to expand to where we were going to have big tournaments and big sporting events, and they were going to stay in these hotels. And that's why that was a hotel way back when, and you were involved in that way back when. That was always going to be a hotel because we were going to expand Karasi. And now here we got this rec pond, and that park is going to expand, and I'm hoping one day it's not needed as a hotel, but that was what the vision was,
Yeah, I get it.
many years ago. And same with the couple hotels, and you got one going up behind the 7-Eleven right now, and you got the couple that are on the east side of 95, and that was always the vision for that little area as
And
far
this
as
doesn't
hotels
change
went.
that.
Yeah.
This
No,
doesn't
it's still
change that.
available, yeah.
Or at least gives
So-
you the opportunity.
But it
if-
gives us an opportunity for an investor who sees the benefit of having
Right.
potentially storage there.
Yeah. I'm good.
Thank you.
Councilman Grubbs?
Thank you for this.
I'm on board with them. I'm good with it.
Councilman Foley?
Got nothing to add?
Yeah, I appreciate your comments. I think you've got some very valid concerns and points. Just a comment in general on the storage concept, and I know the Planning Commission Board struggles with this a lot, and I think it was a 4-3. You know, the one thing to keep in mind is that on commercial property, sooner or later, especially in the state of Florida, there's going to be development. And it's a very broad spectrum of what can get there. And you see businesses that fit a lot of different categories, or the category that fits a lot of different businesses, so to speak. And some of them have very limited impact on our resources: traffic, police, fire, water, utilities, things like that. Others have tremendous impact. When you do a Walmart or a Publix or a hotel, something like that, you're bringing a lot of impact from outside of our municipal borders into your city, and you're going to have a lot of impact on the resources, the infrastructure of the city. I hear the same thing you're talking about. How many more storage units do you need? Well, I don't know, but none of them are going out of business, and a lot of them have waiting lists, but they have very little impact on our resources in our community. Very, very little traffic. In fact, out where I live, there was one that was built out there several years ago, and I remember several people talking about how bad the traffic was going to be. You never see anybody coming and going. I mean, it's rare. Every now and then you see somebody coming and going from the property, but it's not something you see a lot of. And so they bring it's about the smart growth concept. If you want smart growth, then these are the types of things that you want to allow for in your city, because they are successful. They still have to meet codes and take care of the properties, but they don't put a strain on your resources in the city. So, you know, there are things like that, you know, those are part of the discussions for years, and you're absolutely right about that.
I
So,
can second that. It took me a long time on the planning commission to realize, vote no to everything, that was the least impact, and I was very surprised to learn that.
yeah, for sure. Anything else you wanted to offer?
No,
All right, sounds good. Let's see if anybody else in the public wants to speak to it.
So stay there for just a second. Dealing with Sean Geffhart, and we're talking about the PCD dealing with this.
Yes.
If we go in and we say Site A and Site B, and I know in some cities they have it to churches, to restaurants that can serve alcohol and things, but some of them, as it gets too close to a boundary line, they're not allowed to do that. So if we come in here and we go Site A and B, if there's a school on either one of those, not at any other time, can they come in and put a brewery inside there? That would solve
Help
some
from
of
the code
concerns.
standpoint. So our code of ordinances already prohibits anything that you can't sell alcohol within 300 feet by air of a church or a school, already in the code.
Okay.
So if whatever you allow them here, if there's a school in one of those bays, they make that decision to do that. They have eliminated the rest of those bays for being somewhere that sells alcohol. That's their choice. But if they do so, now if the place selling beer goes in first, I don't think it works the other way around. You can come in behind it, but you cannot have a school or a church in there. Whatever you allow on that list, there's a different section of the ordinance that says you cannot, within 300 feet, put a church or a school.
So
That's
an alcohol selling establishment would be grandfathered in if they were in first, but if a school went in there, then an alcohol selling establishment cannot be within 300 feet.
Could not. They would have eliminated that use.
That applies to private schools as well as
Yes,
public?
both private and public.
There we go.
That's what I wanted clarification on, and I'm good. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
You got something to say?
Well, just to the extent if there's something that the council feels appropriate to codify, we are open to it. So, you know, again, I'll defer to the council, but you know, your code is what it says, and
Well, I think you see the intention here, so.
yes, of course.
Yep.
Thank you. Wayne?
Let's give the public a chance to speak, and we'll come back to you if we need to. Anybody else from the public want to speak on item 19? All right, back to council. Any last comments, council?
No.
Anything anybody wants to change in the motion? We're good?
Good.
Good with that? Clerk, call the roll.
Councilman Foley?
No.
Councilman Gephardt?
Yes.
Councilman Green?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Grubbs?
No.
Mayor Stiltner?
Yes, 3-2. Item 20, approval of the Shops of Summer Trees plat. When was the last time we had you get up so many times now?
Penny and I drew straws and I grabbed the wrong one.
All right.
Getting his steps in.
This will be the last time you see me this year, though.
All right, go right ahead.
The final one is the summer trees. Get summer trees here. The yes. Is the Summer Trees plat. This is located on the north side of Williamson Boulevard. This is Summer Trees near our Williamson Boulevard. Currently, it's under construction right now with the multi-tenant building and the Aldi's. This is an existing commercial property. What the request is to do is to subdivide this commercial property into 2 commercial lots. One will have the Aldi's, the second will have the multi-tenant building. All the subdivision infrastructure required is being constructed with the site improvements then. So once all the site improvements have been built, all the subdivision infrastructure will be in place then, and then the plat will be recorded. Staff is recommending approval as this meets all the requirements of the Land Development Code in terms of dimensional requirements and site regulations.
Tim, I gotta ask.
Yes.
Why would they want to do this?
The applicant is here, but typically we
Okay,
see
we'll let the okay.
we see this a lot with our shopping centers here. Then, where basically the Aldi's will be owned by one property owner, and the multi-tenant building will be owned by a separate property owner. There, it's typically with the major tenant. Then there will want their own property. A lot of the older shopping centers here in Port Orange have it. The Publix did that on a lot of them there. So it's typical that we see in these larger shopping centers where you have an anchor grocery store, and then you have the multi-tenant next to it then.
Right. Okay, yeah.
Question?
Yeah, go right ahead.
So, so you're saying that they split these lots, the parking is adequate for both lots?
Correct.
They split these lots, the retention is adequate for both lots,
Correct.
but what happens to the maintenance?
Is a requirement of the property owners, and there's also a property owner association for the common areas.
There is.
There
So
will be.
you're saying there is an HOA or there's a,
There'll be entity that will be required to maintain the common areas, such as there that serve these.
enforceable?
Yes.
Because I want to make sure, oh, no, that's theirs kind of
That's all
thing.
on the plat. We'll identify all that then.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's my concern as well. Good question.
Yeah, that's, well, so this is not a very big piece of property. And so visually and kind of what's going on, what we see going on there today is you see it as one site, one responsibility, and that's what I'm worried about is because we're already dealing with another location in our city where it's like this, and not everybody's getting along in the sandbox, so to speak. And it's who's maintaining the retention pond and who's mowing this and not mowing that. And, I mean, from an HOA perspective, the city doesn't fight with HOAs. So, I mean, that's not, it's their job and their role to worry, and I just worry about that. Well, let's hear from the applicant. I just was very surprised to see this, and I'm like, I don't understand the why, I guess, behind this, so maybe we can get an explanation on that.
Yeah, I think a lot of that.
Applicant here to speak? Come on.
Commercial property.
Did we lay that out clear as mud?
I think so.
Tell us what's going on. Why is it that you guys want to do this?
So for the record, Alana Smith with Cobb Cole Law Firm, 1 Daytona Boulevard.
Thanks.
So yeah, the property owner is going to be, it's in the Aldi lease that it has to be on an individual lot. So it's just, we're making it 2 footprints so that each lot has their own individual footprint pursuant to the lease. And then, yeah, it will be governed by a POA that controls maintenance and everything like that.
Which lot is the Aldi?
The Aldi is lot 2.
Is lot 2.
Yes.
Sweet, it's
right behind mine.
May I, Mayor?
You jump in there.
So it's in their lease. What happens if we were to say no? What's the
It's
next?
an administrative approval. You really, it meets the requirements. You aren't really able to say no. There is no judgment call here.
So then it's just I mean, that's kind of where I'm at with this.
We've gone through this before when you separate out lots. What you're required to do is agree with staff. Now, if you want to disagree that it doesn't meet the dimension requirements, access requirements, and the property owner documents aren't correctly written, you can say that. But you can't go, we don't think it's a good idea. Your judgment is tied to...
Makes sense.
Is the POA correctly written? does it meet the dimensional requirements? It is, as Tim said, it is fairly common. This happens a lot because they'll usually sell off one to somebody else and they'll have that. Aldi may keep it. Sometimes they don't like to own property, they just rent. Like the Applebee's across the street is not owned by Applebee's. They keep turning that over. So somebody in commercial real estate makes money by buying it and selling it. So you see this happen a lot. It's really common. Most of our larger shopping centers have split out properties like that, and the big anchor tenants tend to be standalone. Even the Riverwalk plat, when we were looking at it, was the same way. They were looking at platting out separate the apartments from the commercial. So it's fairly common. It's the real issue here is, does it meet the dimensional requirements, and are the property owner association documents written correctly to create the legal entity that will maintain the infrastructure for all of them?
I got that, and again, I don't have any issue. I'm an easy yes on this, but it's just when you say it's in the lease already, it's like, well, what if it didn't pass? But it sounds like
it would be a
it's gonna
problem
pass.
if
It'd
it
be a big
didn't meet the
problem for them.
requirements,
Yeah,
right? If
okay.
we had come forward and said it doesn't meet the requirements.
I just want, my thought is, I just want to make sure we're not doing anything that handcuffs code enforcement, and we want these properties to be maintained. That's the critical part. Now, obviously, that's our concern. So, but I do appreciate the city manager weighing in on that, and basically it's more of a ministerial thing. Tracy, anything?
I'm good.
Same thing, the concern I had was a stone's throw away. We're having this issue right now, where one piece looks really nice and the other one doesn't. But this is not the case here. You guys have an agreement that it's going to be maintained
Yeah,
through the HOA.
correct, through the POA, yeah.
POA. Yeah, no, I'm good.
So in that agreement, there's no way to say, okay, well, guess what, I'm gonna draw a string across my parking spot and you can't park in my parking spots, and all these parking spots are communable parking spots to the stores as an infrastructure type of thing, correct? I mean,
Yes, I believe
you're dividing properties, but you're saying, I just wanna make sure we're not, well, you can't park in my parking lot, and you can't park in my parking lot, because that's not how the math works on a shopping center like this.
That's Chris Rowley with Zevcon and Associates, 300 Interchange Boulevard. That's correct. So all these spots, there's no designation of you can't park here, these are mine. It's all communal. They can interact between the two.
All right, and that's in the agreement as far as maintenance and so on, or whatever we're talking about here?
Yes. Yep.
All right, yep. All right, good, thank you.
Yep.
Anything else?
That is all, unless you have any more questions.
No, we'll see if anybody have any more questions for the applicant. Double check with the public. Anybody else from the public want to speak to this item? No? All right. Item 20, back to council. Do we need a roll call on this one?
There wasn't a motion made.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve case number SUBD-24-0001.
Second,
Got it. Councilman Foley?
yes.
Councilman Gephardt?
Yes.
Councilman Green?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Grubbs?
Yes.
Mayor Stiltner?
Yes. 5-0. Thank you for clearing that up, Mr. City Manager, and everybody else there. Oh, okay, good. All right. We've got, next item is gonna have quite a few, I believe, public participation and some discussions. Yep. So we're gonna take a quick 5-minute break, so don't go away. We'll be quick about that, and we'll be right back.
Water system. Currently, the city of Port Orange fluoridates the water, and the discussion is to whether or not we wish to continue fluoridation or to cease that practice. This was an item that council asked to be placed on the agenda for discussion so that we could have an open discussion. I first want to say thank you. A lot of folks, I know not everybody is here tonight, but a lot of people have reached out and had some really great discussions, sent some very thoughtful information and emails, in fact, a lot of information. So we do truly appreciate that, because that type of engagement with us in that manner is very good, and it's beneficial. We've also had new information, or I should say a recommendation by the Florida Surgeon General, who has recommended now that municipalities cease fluoridating water. So there has been a lot of good information out there, and so we're going to have that discussion now. We'll start with council members first, and then we're going to go to the public with some comment. I will say, for those in the public that wish to come up and speak tonight, you don't have to have filled one of these out, so we'll get an opportunity. I'll probably go through this list first. I know public speaking isn't for everybody. We totally understand that. If you wish to just come up and say, I don't want fluoride in my water, I want to keep fluoride in my water, that is totally fine with us. If you have information that hasn't been presented to us and you want to convey that, that is great as well. Can I get you to close that door there?
Thank you.
So, all right, Councilman Green, let's start with you. Any opening thoughts or comments here?
I don't have any open. I've been putting a lot of study into this. I've been doing a lot of reading, and you know, I don't really know enough about it yet. I do see the trends of a lot of cities that are doing away with it, and I also see some trends where a lot of cities are not, and they're continuing what they're doing, and a lot of that's going on locally. But I'm willing to be open-minded about this and to continue to listen as we go forward here.
Okay. Councilman Gifford.
Well, I've done a lot of research about this, and I've looked at it every which way, up, down, sideways. I've lost sleep looking at it, thinking about it, and you know, we've been providing this service since 1982. I've looked at the study that our Surgeon General referred to, and I opened it up. I looked through it from top to bottom, and it was based on the National Toxicology panel. It's called the National Toxicology Program, and they reviewed this thoroughly. It was basically the words are rigorous scientific evaluation, and they had a monograph conclusion with moderate confidence that higher levels of fluoride exposure, that's higher, could cause some IQ issues in young children. That level is at basically such as drinking water containing more than 1.5 milligrams per liter are associated with lower IQs in children. And what level do we have with added fluoridation? And our city is nowhere near 1.5. We're less than half of that. And the facts are that the NTB review was designed to evaluate total fluoride exposure from all sources and was not designed to evaluate the health effects of fluoridated drinking water alone. So it's important to know that there were insufficient data to determine if the low fluoride levels of 0.7 currently recommended for U.S. community water supplies has a negative effect on children's IQ. It also had no evidence that fluoride exposure had adverse effects on adult cognition. So these are words right out of the evaluation from the National Toxicology Service, which is a source from our government. And one of the responsibilities that we have as a city is to provide safe and healthy water to our citizens. That's our responsibility, and that's to bring it right to the tap. And what they do after that is up to them. Whether they drink it, I've drank it my whole life. Not a lot of cities are removing this. There's 70% of the cities in this country provide this water to their communities, over 70%, along with Florida. The largest cities in our state provide it. Broward County, Miami-Dade, Palm Beach, and there have been some elected officials deciding to not continue the process. I could care less, honestly. I'm 57 years old and I don't necessarily need the fluoride in the water anymore. But there is a benefit by adding it the right amounts, and that's proven. And the hydrofluoric acid that we use to provide fluoride changes, as chemistry works, when you add water to it. So it turns it into something called fluoride, which is at the recommended dosage from the CDC is safe. We're well below that. We're right below that. So my staff can correct me. But we're at 0.7 or 0.6. But the other issue is if we don't add fluoride to the water, additional, I have to say that because it automatically is there. And throughout this world, some levels are higher than others. These are the things that I'm finding out. So obviously, if you're getting higher levels, as in the study, you could potentially have issues. But they also stated that more studies needed to occur. And, so I've read the emails. I have 65,000 constituents in our city. I have not had 65,000 issues or concerns. As a matter of fact, I've been kind of polling people about this issue because it's a hot topic. It was brought to us by several concerned citizens about fluoride use. And I respect that. But I've asked several others, many. This is a big concern. And they're like, no, I'm okay with fluoride. And if I'm not, I'll do something about it. I won't drink it. I'll do bottled water. I'll get a filter. My neighbor across the street got a water filter. You can remove fluoride out of the water with the filter. There's countertop ones. There's whole house systems. So there's things that the public can do if they don't want it. But we owe it to our citizens to provide them with, based on the ordinances, and correct me if I'm wrong, safe and healthy water. And I talked with the attorney about the consent issue. And I'm very familiar with informed consent. I'm actually a marketing director for a clinical trial company. So I understand consent. And I also understand the way I read it, and I could be wrong, that when the hydrofluoric acid gets turned into water, it becomes fluoride, it becomes more of a mineral and not a medication. That's why, correct me if I'm wrong, the courts have not made a decision to not allow it to happen anymore because it's not a consent issue. So it's an availability issue that our city decided to do along with many others, and there's huge benefits to people who can't afford a $1,000 root canal after their kids have issues with cavities. I've had 3 kids. I've been very lucky. They haven't had cavities. They've been drinking fluoridated water for their whole life. And their IQs are fantastic. One's got 2 degrees from Florida State University. So I don't want to say that the studies aren't legitimate. They are, but they were looking at this study too, by the way, that they looked at was from Mexico City, Mexico. So to me, that's a huge red flag. And the number of participants was less than 1,000 people of pregnant women. So I know they made a huge effort, but at the end of the day, I looked at I was told by people sending me emails, hey, look at this national toxicology report, and I did. And at the end of the day, I'm like, I'm not concerned with what's in it at all, because we're not providing 1.5. No one is. So I did not get a ton of emails. I did not get a lot of emails. I got very few based on the population of 65,000 people in our city. And I believe we provide water to Daytona Beach Shores and Ponce Inlet. So this is a non-issue. But here's how I feel about it. I don't think the 5 of us should make this decision. I don't. I think we should put it on a ballot, not a special election, just put it on the ballot. Let the people debate it amongst themselves. And I don't want to cop out and say, oh, he just threw it on an election ballot. No, this is my citizens, 65,000. And I think they should go out and educate themselves like I did and let them make a decision, like I'll make a decision. And that's what's disappointing to me, is that you get elected officials throughout this state or throughout the country. It's 5 people making a decision on millions of people based on a very few that came to a council meeting and blasted me with information that I basically read through and like, wait a second, we're not adding that level. So I would say that let's not make this decision. Let's let our citizens decide if they want it removed, because they're the ones that are getting it. And that's what I have to say.
Councilman Green?
No, I already spoke.
All right. Councilman Grubbs?
So for the people that did email us, thank you. You did give us a lot of information. I had to go dig through the information like Councilman Geffert just said. It is a lot to take in when you're dealing with people's health and the concerns that we have. One person up here with the 5 of us voting on something of 65,000, it's a toll. And I've always said when I took the job by election to look at these things, how does it affect people, not today, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years down the road? The vote up here is something that weighs heavily on all the councilmen. And I know sometimes y'all think we don't think about this stuff and we come up here and we go through the motions. But it's not. It's a tolling job of knowing that you're affecting lives many years down the road. One of the biggest things that Mike brought to me was concerning was the less fortunate, the underprivileged, the kids for dental and care. And it is a major concern. But going through, and what I said 2 weeks ago, is knowing that there is a resource at the Volusia County Health Department that is available for those families at no cost. So the underprivileged isn't left out. And that's a big concern for me. Everybody should have equal health. I, of right now, can definitely confide into equal health and the possibilities of taking care of yourself. But knowing that the Volusia County Health Department does have a dental area for underprivileged and less fortunate, that solves some of my major issues and concerns. That gives us a possibility of knowing of what is available. But at the same time, it is a major toll for the question. We are at 0.6 as far as fluoride to the water. The water that we have is at 0.3 when it comes out of the ground. Different spots of the state, I can tell you that it's way higher than that. I help with water sampling. It's one of my jobs. But I'm not usually looking at fluoride when I'm diving inside the caves and pulling out water. I'm looking at all the chemicals that are flushed down toilets into septic tanks, and they bleach and leach into our water tables. This is a bigger problem than fluoride. It just never hits the news media. Fluoride's a hot topic because somebody came out and they started publishing information, which is great. That's how we educate ourselves. So I'm willing to listen, both sides. I will tell you that we had our retiring administrator, Surgeon General, was hot on this 8-10 years ago when they were here. We had the Surgeon General of the state of Florida come in here and tell us straight up that fluoride was needing. And now we have a Surgeon General now that says it's not. It's a tough decision. You got one on one side, one on the other. Both at the time, everybody can call it politics, both at the time of the House was the same representation inside the office of the governorship. So it's a tough deal. You have 5 individuals looking at this. I have to agree with Sean. It's one of those decisions is how we vote on this tonight, or do we push it to a ballot? That's a big decision that we all 5 have to decide up here of which direction to go with this. That's what I have as of right now.
Well, I appreciate the comments from all of you up here and emails, phone calls. I've talked to a few people. I've emailed with a lot of people on this subject. Again, I said before, as personally, I guess maybe I come from a different position just because I've been dealing with a bunch of residents that have had water in their homes. When I've been thinking about water in the city of Port Orange, it has had nothing to do with what they've been drinking. It's had to do with what's been destroying homes the last 2 hurricane cycles. But nevertheless, I'm open-minded. I don't know what direction you guys want to do. It sounds like from the way that everyone's talking up here, it's everyone's obviously open to new information. This is a big decision for sure. Like you said, we provide for our residents, also for Ponce Inlet and South Daytona. So there's a lot of customers that we have that purchase this water from us. I would probably just advise everybody up here. The state and House both have bills right now at the Florida state level that are being heard by experts, and there's a lot of testimony and a lot of evidence, and they are going to get a much better presentation than the 5 of us are going to get from all the information that we're getting, and they're going to make a ruling. We may want to follow, well, if they decide to ban it, then it's out immediately. No questions asked, and I believe city manager understands that, as we discussed earlier today. But that's kind of where I am with it. You have a lot of very well-educated people. I don't claim to be an expert in this category. I'm not even going to pretend to be. I've learned more about it than I ever thought I would in my lifetime, and I'm very appreciative of that opportunity to learn. But nevertheless, I think we might want to make sure that we let the state hear all the arguments and then follow their lead on this. That's my opinion. And I do not think sending, and for the record, I think sending it to the ballot is a terrible idea. I don't think there's any reason to go that far. It's going to be decided by the House and by the state Senate before then anyway. That's my personal opinion.
Anything else?
No, I'm good.
All right. So, from my perspective, this is the first time hearing a fluoride discussion and having a lot of people contact me with concerns in many years. In fact, the last time, a couple of times that I've been through these discussions were prior to the COVID virus, which coincidentally I just was, this is a side note, seeing on the news the other night they were talking about that's already from 5 years ago. I'm like, wow, time is flying. But and I appreciate everybody's comments and concerns, and I think you're right in a sense that one of the things that has happened historically, when you look at the data and you look at a lot of the research, is over time the levels have continued to decline. I think that's something that has happened nationally, where the federal government was advising up to 4 parts per million maximum. There was a time where you were seeing a lot of municipalities and governments all across the United States that would be around the 2.0 mark, 1.8 mark, 1.6 mark, so forth and so on. Now it seems like over time, it's the numbers have been reduced less and less and less and less. One of the things I find interesting is as time goes by, science gets better and better and better, research gets better and better and better, and adjustments are made. That being said, I may look at this a little differently since the COVID thing, and that's okay if everybody doesn't agree. It's just how I look at it. And choice is a big factor for me. And one of the things that came out of the COVID thing afterwards mostly was whether or not people really had choice for certain things. And I get that there are certain things that we may not have choices for individually. I get that. So the choice thing can be its own discussion, I guess. But my perspective looking at that, that's a big factor for me. I also think that, you know, a lot of the data and a lot of the research and a lot of the articles that you read, the concept of fluoridation early had a lot to do with, like Councilman Gruds mentioned, you know, there are large communities globally that struggle to provide dental hygiene. They don't have that. And so conceptually, the idea is you put it in the water, everybody has to drink water, and so then that resolves that. And so, but you look at a city like Port Orange, and you got to ask yourself, are we that city? You know, I look at our city as a very well-off city where dental hygiene is very, very accessible. I don't know if they still do it. I think they still do it, but you know, I mean, in elementary schools, they talk about dental hygiene. You know, I mean, I seem to remember when my kids were in kindergarten, first grade, that they would be talking. They would do sections on hygiene and the importance of brushing your teeth and all those different kinds of things. So I look at our community and I don't see a city that fits that prior mold of how else are they going to take care of their teeth, right? I don't know that the city of Port Orange is that. So those are kind of some of the things that in my mind that I've thought a lot about. And again, I do appreciate all the information. And a lot of folks that, you know, a lot of the same studies, which is totally fine. But there is a lot of information. And globally, like Councilman Gephardt talked about, you know, this is a global matter. And a lot of the studies do come from other countries because this is one of those things where this happens a lot all over the globe. This is not just something that's unique to the United States. There are places where they used to do it and they don't do it anymore, and there's places where they didn't do it and they probably do it. So, but anyway, so let's hear from the public. I know we got a lot of folks that want to speak tonight. A lot of these folks have spoke before and sent us information, so we appreciate that. Jennifer Kalushin. What I'll do is I'm gonna let you know who's coming up to speak and who's next. Michelle Edwards will be next. Welcome.
Hi, thank you guys. I'm Jennifer. I got a little heated back there when I was hearing our non-empathetic Councilman Goffert talk about his thought process on this. I understand that he has a research background, and I'm so grateful that your children are smart. I have a child with autism. I have to worry about extra fluoride in the water. I have to worry about what he eats. I have to worry about things that could trigger him and things that his system cannot detox from. If this does not get passed, where you guys take this out, I'll have to buy a filtration system just to get it out. Now, I'm a single mom. I have 2 children. I'm working full-time multiple jobs to make ends meet. I have access to dentistry. I take my kids, I have to pay $400 out of my pocket just to have their teeth cleaned. And I refuse fluoride every time. Every time. Because it's not safe for my children, both of them. And to hear you speak so nonchalant and in a way condescending. I have taken my time, I have taken my effort to come here on my own. Where are the people who disagree with fluoride or who want fluoride in the water? Where are they? The people who don't want fluoride in.
Jennifer, just focus on us.
Where are the people who want to keep the fluoride? Where are they?
Mm-hmm.
Because the ones that I talk to, because I'm also out in the community, working in the medical profession, the ones that I talk to have no clue that it's even being added. They know it's in there. It's being added, they say? Yes, it's being added. Artificial fluoridation. Fluoride is being added to our water. They have no clue it's being added. They think it's naturally occurring. So I'm, where are these people? I have nothing left to say. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Michelle Edwards, and next will be Robert Reinhagen. Welcome, Michelle.
Good evening, Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak again on this issue of fluoridation in our city's water supply. I know that I, as well as many others, have sent all of you numerous studies which have documented the negative effects of fluoridated water. With that said, it's hard to dispute the documented long-term effects of water fluoridation, regardless of its levels. I would like to address a comment that was made the last time we were here in February speaking on this issue, which was that Port Orange uses a much lower level of fluoride compared to the other cities. That may be true, but focusing on the concentration levels overlooks the fact that it is the total daily dose of fluoride that causes toxicity, not simply the concentration level of the fluoride in the water. As compelling as the research is, that should not be the main focus of this discussion. The most critical issue here is that our citizens currently do not have the ability to opt out of something being added to their water for medical purposes. Water is essential for our survival. However, when we're talking about something being added for medical reasons like fluoride, it should not be forced on anyone without their consent. No one should be subjected to a medical intervention without having the freedom to make the decision for themselves, especially when it comes to something as fundamental as the water we drink. Removing fluoride from the water does not eliminate options for those who believe in its benefits. There are plenty of alternatives available. These alternatives allow those who want fluoride to still have access to it without imposing it on everyone. I also want to address your point, Sean, that the issue should be left up to the citizens to vote on. While I respect the democratic process, this proposal raises a serious issue. My neighbor Joe or anyone else should not be able to override my right as a parent to decide what's best for my children's health. The decision to add fluoride to the water should not be a matter of majority rule. It should be about individual rights. Ultimately, this is about preserving individual rights. It is about ensuring that all of us have control over what we put into our bodies. Removing fluoride from the water supply would still allow those who wish to use fluoride to do so without making it a blanket requirement for everyone. We can have a solution that respects individual rights while still allowing access to fluoride for those who choose it. Rather than deciding to keep it in despite the research, your oath to do no harm, and stripping away the fundamental rights of citizens for informed consent. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thanks, Michelle.
Robert Reinhagen. And Palmer, I know I'm going to mess it up again. Palmer, you'll be next. Go ahead, Robert.
Robert Reinhagen, 1425 Dexter Drive, Port Orange. Mayor, council members, I'm glad she talked about options because that's what I was concerned about. Because she mentioned options, but she didn't say what they were. And that's exactly what I would like to hear more of. What are the options? For instance, would brushing your teeth with fluoride toothpaste once a day be adequate? Or twice a day? Or 3 times a day? Or 3 times a day with going to a dentist for treatment? And so we need to find an option that's going to provide society with the same kind of benefits that the fluoride in the water provides. And I have a copy of a thing from the News Journal, and it talks about Utah is to become the first U.S. state to ban the use of fluoride in public water systems after Governor Spencer Cox said he would sign legislation to that effect. Utah Representative Stephanie Gricius, a Republican and chief sponsor of the bill, said it allows pharmacists to prescribe fluoride for those wanting the minerals protection for their teeth. Now, to me, that's a real positive option, and that's what I think. And I'm assuming because it's a prescription that insurance would cover it. So it's something that has to be done at the state level. So I'm sort of recommending that you table this or not take action until we see what the legislature does. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
Palmer? What's the name?
Justin, Harvey?
Yeah, Justin Harvey, go ahead.
Thank you so much, I appreciate that.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Justin Harvey, 103 South Osceola, Orlando. Thank you for revisiting this important topic today. There's lots of new information, like you all mentioned. As we noted, the 7-year court case. I just want to point out that we mentioned it was just one study. There were many studies cited in the guidance, and in January we had 74 new studies published in JAMA, also citing lower IQ. And you say that it only looks at higher levels of fluoride outside the U.S. The Surgeon General has been presenting with a scientist that looked at low levels of fluoride in California. He's been presenting with her for months. I don't know how everyone keeps saying that we only looked at high fluoride. There have been the exact studies conducted at low levels and found the exact same thing. It's important to note that 14 of the last 19 cities that have made this decision to take the fluoride out have been unanimous. Only 4 cities have decided to keep it. 19 to take it out, 4 to keep. So I just didn't want that to get skewed. It's important to remember that it doesn't really matter, I think, if it's safe and effective for our teeth or dangerous for our brain. I don't think it's your all's job to medicate the public and make that decision for every resident. Informed consent and the ability to choose is the way to go. And let's just assume, you don't believe any of those studies, the 74 plus, they're just all wrong, right? If just an iota of one of those is accurate, we got to give people the ability to opt out of a medical treatment, right? I can opt out of any medical treatment or procedure, but not this one. We don't add statins or antidepressants to the water, right? Because we wouldn't be able to control the dose to an infant, an elderly person, someone with a kidney condition. It is not naturally occurring fluoride. I'll just mention one more time. It is a chemical waste. The media calls it a natural mineral, but the water plant data sheet will show you that it is a corrosive chemical. Quote, an acid that terrifies them, as one water operator put it. Now, what happens when we stop? Fortunately, 95% of the world does not add fluoride to their water. So while most of America does, most of the world does not. And 95% of the world is not suffering from rotting teeth. I'm sure that would be headline news. 30% of the states on well water, they don't get fluoride. They get the naturally occurring levels, something that we are not concerned about. It is just the addition of this medication and chemical waste. As you know, Orman and New Smyrna unanimously voted it out. And, again, topical benefits to your teeth. I'm sure some of these pro-fluoride people are going to talk about how great it is for teeth. Maybe it is, but it's potentially bad for our brain health. And it's easier to fix a cavity than it is brain damage, right? And I'm not saying that we should have both, but we can work on our diet and other ways. Like the council member mentioned, we have plenty of ways to get fluoride nowadays. So there's truly not a need for city councils to be in the dental care business. It's not 50 years ago. They can get it on every corner inexpensively. It's truly a win-win for all sides because you give people a choice. Another mayor recently said it best, doesn't matter how I feel about it, I can't force it on the residents that don't want it. Thank you for your time.
Palmer?
Thank you, sir.
And Dr. Jack Goldie next. Right after Palmer, Dr. Goldie. Dr. Goldie, 1 second. You'll be after Palmer.
Oh.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm up after you. That's cool.
Hello, Councilman and Mayor. Thank you again for reconsidering this issue. I just want to reiterate that it is a neurotoxin. It was a 7-year court case. And to read from the judge's ruling, the court finds that fluoridation of water at 0.7 milliliters, not 1.5, the level presently considered optimal in the United States, poses an unreasonable risk of reduced IQ in children. The court finds that there is unreasonable risk of such injury, a risk sufficient to require the EPA to engage with a regulatory response. And also, the issue for me is really the choice, like has been brought up over and over. Why don't we have a choice? I think we should have a choice. You guys, I've repeatedly mentioned about the Florida Patient Bill of Rights. I have asked several of you to email me why specifically actually, Sean, I asked you specifically to ask the city attorney to get back to me about why the Florida Patient Bill of Rights does not apply, and you guys have not done that. So that's a problem. Secondly, it's very it's very unprofessional how I've asked the Public Works Department at Port Orange multiple times to send me the material safety data sheets regarding the fluoride. Completely ignored. Multiple times. Do you guys even have those? I would like an answer to that. Because you don't even know what's being added to the water. It's very concerning. So the bottom line is we need a right to choose what's in the water. It's not fair to force this drug on people that don't want it. And to address what Sean said, anybody can go get a filtration system. That's completely wrong. You know, the single mothers, they can't afford that. They can afford bottled water. You're wrong on that. It's unfair. They're at a disadvantage. You know, Tracy, I think it was you that mentioned that, you know, there's programs with Volusia County that, you know, they can get free dental care. You know, we don't need it added to the water. You guys are breaking state law with the Florida Patient Bill of Rights 381.026, and you should really think about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Palmer. Dr. Goldie. And next will be Tara Hill.
Yeah, treated. I'm a dentist, general dentist.
Introduce yourself for the record, Dr. Goldie.
Anyway.
Just introduce yourself for the record.
Okay, I'm Jack Goldie, retired dentist. I live at 736 Pringle Road, Port Orange. Now, yeah, I served the people at Port Orange for 45 years. I started here in 1979. When I started practice, we did a lot. Just half the day was repairing children's teeth. Okay, a good portion also was making dentures, servicing people with dentures, and in the 90s, all that kind of just really slowed down. It's just dramatic what fluoride can do. I've seen it. I know that you mentioned about the Volusia Health Department, but they're not truthfully very effective, you know, for a big population of creating, you know, healthy teeth for the masses. The children aren't compliant. You know, they just drink the water, and it works. And if you feel strongly about it and you don't want it, then you probably won't have the funding to repair the damage that your children will have. I really believe that. And the price of the filter to take it out is probably way less than the price to fix one tooth. The fillings we did, they're not permanent. You know, as we grow older, they have to be redone and the treatments become more complex. And having ugly teeth when you're a child, it affects your self-esteem. And yeah, it's just a win-win for the community. You know, Port Orange, we've always been different, you know. We have our own identity here. But the public health, they're not going to take care of the children. And the money for the filter is a lot less than you would spend on the filter if you really believe that. And I just think we have a duty to take care of our people.
Thank you, Doctor. Appreciate you. Tara Hill, followed by Tracy Gardner. Welcome.
Hello again, my name is Tara Hill. I'm part of the statewide effort to end public water fluoridation. I expect your decision tonight to reflect your duty to honor your oaths and not be based on personal biases, potential conflicts of interest, or made on the opinions of local dentists. No one, absolutely no one, not a government official, nor voters on a ballot, has the right to medicate citizens through the public water supply without informed consent. This is not a fluoride issue at its core. It's a freedom issue. Over-the-counter fluoridated products are widely available, affordable, and easily accessible for those who choose them. Forcing Port Orange citizens to consume a known neurotoxin through public drinking water with the intent to allegedly prevent tooth decay is a forced medical treatment without informed consent. You are simply bound by your oaths to remove it. The Nuremberg Code established that where there is risk, there must be choice. The Council's role here is not to quantify or debate risk. It is only to acknowledge that a risk exists with all medical products and then uphold the citizen's choice. And since a federal court and numerous studies confirm the risks of water fluoridation, you are legally bound to uphold informed consent, which includes the right to refusal without financial penalty. Currently, there is no opt-out of the municipal water supply without undue burden to citizens. Forcibly medicating Port Orange citizens through their public water supply is a violation of both the 14th Amendment's due process protections and Article 1, Section 23 of Florida's Constitution, which protects citizens from unwarranted government intrusion, including forced medication. Please also consider that continuing to add a known neurotoxin to the water supply also exposes you to potential legal claims of negligence, breach of oath, conflict of interest, bodily harm, and failure to warn. It is a liability. Regardless of any personal opinions on fluoride, you are bound by your oaths to stop forcibly medicating Port Orange citizens with hydrofluosilicic acid. So I urge you, acknowledge the precedent set by the federal court ruling that deemed water fluoridation an unreasonable risk to health. Heed the directives of Dr. Latipo and Governor DeSantis, both of whom called water fluoridation forced medication. Uphold the citizens' rights to informed consent by removing the known neurotoxin, hydrofluosilicic acid, from Port Orange's water supply. Clean drinking water, free from medicative substances, is not just a human right, but a legal one as well. Honor your oaths and vote it out. Thank you.
Thanks, Tara. Tracy Gardner, and then Luke Newnham. Did I say that right? Welcome,
Thank
Tracy.
you. Good evening. I stand before you today to address the critical issue that affects every one of us, the artificial fluoridation of our city's water supply. Fluoride's long been promoted as beneficial for dental health. It's time to reconsider whether mass medication through our drinking water is ethical, necessary, or safe. Natural fluoride is called calcium fluoride. It is not an industrial waste, which is what fluorosilicic acid is. It is an industrial waste that we're adding to the water. I'm all for natural fluoride. We do 0.3 of that, and we should leave it at 0.3 of that. If fluoride is actually beneficial to us, then I'm okay with that. I just don't want an industrial waste product in my water. Also, the lack of consent, it violates our medical ethics. And we do have laws here in the state of Florida that gives us personal choice. So unlike toothpaste, you know, we can choose to avoid toothpaste, we can avoid fluoride treatments at the dentist, we can not get our teeth clean, we can not go to the dentist at all if we'd like to. But when you put it in our water, I'm currently, you know, I have a heart condition, I've got a kidney issue, I have to know every single thing that goes into our water. And the city calls me when they do that because I've got a problem with anything in my water. My brother's fighting 2 cancers in my household today. I've got to worry about what's going into his body so that he can survive bladder and lung cancer. And I don't have a choice today. I'm in a rental. I can't buy a water system. And I can't use reverse osmosis because it causes a stomach acid problem for my brother and myself with the conditions that we have medically. So I would like to also bring up the dental situation in Florida. You know, I grew up here, I left here, and I spent a lot of my time in the military traveling the world. And I landed in California for the space shuttle. And I realized that Florida's got a terrible teeth problem. I've never seen anything like it in the travels of my time. Florida had 3,165 hospitalizations for preventable dental billing. Over $167 million we paid for this care in the year 2022. It says also that Florida we're last in the nation. We are literally last in the nation in dental care, okay? We have the highest number of children seeking dental care in hospital environments here. There is no dental care that I can find in the state of Florida for my children that is free or provides services that I can manage.
Thank
so,
you. Appreciate your comments.
Okay, so I wanted to make sure that you understood that with fluoride in our water, we have the highest dental problem in the nation in Florida. And if our
Tracy, I
fluoride
gotta cut you off
is
at 3 minutes.
working,
I gotta
how
cut
is
you off.
that
Thank you very
possible?
much.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Luke Noonan. Welcome.
Hey, thank you. Luke Noonan, lifetime resident here in Port Orange, and I'll pick up where she left off. The toxic waste is not helping our teeth. It's not helping our bones. It's giving us bone cancer. And I know all of you are empathetic to these folks. I mean, we're all immersed with people with just chronic disease. You know, that's the real pandemic that we face right now in this era. That has to do with all the toxins that we're being exposed to. This stuff is not a natural mineral. I mean, it's a common sense decision here. We expect a sweep to remove this fluoride. That's what I'm expecting. Just to reiterate what everyone's already said, your decisions has been laid out for you, what needs to be done. It's not a natural mineral. It's a waste product, industrial waste product from the aluminum industry, the pesticide industry, the fertilizer industry. It's what you're putting in the water. The city of Port Orange is responsible to give us water, not a supplement. We don't need a supplement. We need water. You can't bathe in this stuff. You can't drink it. All you guys have bottled water. No one's drinking this water. This water's trash. We all know it. The highest health officials in the land are recommending get rid of this stuff. It needs to happen now. We don't need it to go to a vote. We need you guys to expedite this and get it done tonight. We need it out of the water. The highest officials are stating that it needs to be done. The Sergeant General of Florida, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. The tide's coming. It's going to be removed nationwide, statewide. We're being poisoned, and we need you guys to be on the right side of this. It's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer, common sense decision. Give us water. We don't need a supplement. Those who want the supplement, it's very easy to get the fluoride. To buy the toothpaste with the poison marking on it that says there's poison in the toothpaste, they can buy that stuff. This is toxic waste. It's not benefiting us in any way. There's been numerous studies to show that this is hurting the IQs of our young children during the period of a human being coming into life. They're in a different state than we are. They can't express things that they're experiencing mentally. They're just developing. That's where this toxin hurts people the most. It's a developmental neurotoxin. There's numerous studies to show this. So we're facing a chronic disease issue here, and we need to stop. We need to do everything we can to eliminate the toxins that we catch at every corner. Every corner we turn, we're experiencing toxins, and this is an opportunity to make a huge impact on Port Orange and help the health and the vitality of the community. It's super important. Thank you.
Thank you, Luke.
Thank you.
I'm probably going to mispronounce this because I'm not sure I can make out one of these, but is it Dr. Mance? Yes, sir. I apologize.
No, you're fine.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you for having us. My name is Dr. Bruce Mann. I've been a practicing endodontist in this community for over 40 years. I also have the honor of being an educator at the University of Florida. I'm a professor at the Department of Endodontics. We are the largest Medicaid provider for endodontics or root canals for children in North Florida, probably the state. I do kind of a blind study work asking the parents that when they bring these children in, are you on bottled water or city water? 95% of the parents that bring their children in, these kids are on well water. And the decay rate is unbelievable. So from that standpoint alone, and having two children that have multiple degrees with no neurological problems, we still need fluoride in the water. It's been placed in the water in small amounts since 1940. All of us are grouping of probably from 1950 on, and we seem to be doing okay. That's all I have to say. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Doc. Appreciate you.
Thank you, sir.
Kelty McCormick. Did I get that name right?
Sorry?
Did I get the name right?
You did.
All right,
Well
right
done.
ahead. Welcome.
My name's Kelty McCormick, and I live in Countryside, 961A South Lakewood Terrace. I'm a retired nurse of 30 years, over 30 years, and I will tell you that all medical and dental professionals are taught, among other things, to educate and counsel their patients. I'd like to read a quick, small passage from a nursing text. For geriatric patients, evaluate and counsel on dental health. Point A, dental problems in the elderly, including missing teeth, ill-fitting dentures, periodontal disease, and decayed teeth. Counsel on point B, dental problems often lead to poor eating habits, apathy, and fatigue. Point C, regular dental health care should be encouraged to improve nutrition and the quality of life. As a child, I had very few dental needs from dental professionals because I grew up in Lincoln, Nebraska, where fluoride was in the water. As I got older, my first cavity arrived at age 12 after developing a desire to blow bubbles with sugary bazooka bubblegum. As a young adult, still few dental needs after that, but I needed input for two little boys, and I trusted dental professionals again, and my sons benefited from fluoride in the water. By the time I was a practicing nurse, I had the chance to see the results of problem teeth and how that related to cardiac problems and the need for prophylactic antibiotics, etc. But it was as a nursing supervisor toward the end of my career in a nursing home that the problems of poor dental health really got my attention. As a supervisor, I had often to tell patients and their families of the need for new dental appliances after theirs went missing. And as the patients waited for those expensive replacements, their dietary needs could change dramatically. No teeth can mean no roughage in a diet, and that can mean constipation. Point 2, poor nutrition turns meals into mush, so the patients can eat anything at all. Point 3, weight loss related to decreasing oral nutrition can weaken older patients. Point 4, bedridden patients' bodies break down into bed sores more easily, et cetera, et cetera. And so fluoride in early life improves dental health that improves overall health all your life long. You have the benefit of local scientists and dental professionals sitting right here that have looked at Port Orange's fluoride in the water for all their careers here. They have much to say in favor of fluoride, and I agree with them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stephen Oberg. Did I mispronounce it?
Okay.
Oh, sorry, my apologies.
Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Stephen Obeng. I'm a general dentist in Port Orange. I want to thank you for taking your time this evening, and also my colleagues being here. You guys touched on a lot of the points, so I won't go too much into it, but fluoride has been introduced since 1945 in Michigan, and it's been around for 80 years. From my own personal experience, I do a lot of mission work to try to help those that don't have. And, in a lot of areas that I do see, there's, no fluoride in the water. The decay missing in filled teeth is very, very high. And local and international mission trips. We actually have one coming up here, Mission of Mercy, this Thursday and Friday. And a lot of people travel from all over the state to come be a part of that. And many people just don't have access to care. And this has been something recognized by the CDC as one of the top greatest ways to help those. So just from a personal experience, I've seen it firsthand. I know there's lots of studies for and against. I think a neat one I read was the one in Alaska, if you guys came across that one, where, Janae voted to have the fluoride taken out of the water, and Anchorage decided to keep it. And that was a good study because it was controlled. You don't have too much traffic of people coming in and out of that city, of cities. So, you know, then with those kids, particularly the kids, and I think you mentioned, so part of the big development with the fluoride was the kids are able to have it in the developing teeth, so they're more resistant to cavities. So, you know, they did follow that study for a while and saw that every year that the ones that did have the fluoride taken out of the water, per year, you had a higher incidence of cavities in those children. But, I mean, there's lots of studies out there, but it's been around for a very long time, and I hope you guys take the time to kind of digest that data there. So I think you know that's one of the things I'll put out there. All right, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Oscar Morjon? Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Oscar Morejong. I'm a periodontist. I live in Ormond Beach, and I practice in Daytona Beach. I just wanted to speak in favor of community fluoridation. I don't treat cavities, but I catch people at the end stage when we're taking teeth out and replacing them, and it's very costly. And I think that fluoridation really helps that, to minimize that. And I think one thing that's been said, you know, comparing fluoride in toothpaste as to the fluoridation in the water, I mean, it's different. The fluoridation is helping the kids, you know, kind of as their teeth are forming in their jaws. So it's a little bit different than just using topical fluoride, which is what we get through our toothpaste or maybe through applications at the dentist. You know, fluoride really benefits the neediest in the community. I mean, I think we need to think about that as far as, I know there's avenues and there's the health department and there's different ways of getting some dental care, but I think it just kind of, compliance is not great, and that benefit for those kids that maybe don't have the opportunity to go to the health department or don't know to go to the health department or don't have access to care, those are the neediest people that benefit. Fluoride benefits those neediest in the community. And just personally, you know, when I came to town, I've been in town since 1995, and I moved here with a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, and then we had another baby soon after that. And both my wife and I are both dentists, and we basically removed the filter from our refrigerator just so that we could make that happen easily. If you don't have fluoride in the water and you want fluoride, you have to get it from the dentist, put it in the water yourself, or find a way to do it so that your kids are drinking the water, and it's quite complicated and it gets cumbersome. So personally, my 3 kids, you know, we're fluoridated. I still drink tap water, and I believe that it is safe, and I think that fluoridation is a positive thing. I understand the personal rights, you know, as far as choice is concerned, I understand that too. But I think the neediest people in the community are going to benefit from fluoridation, and those are the people that, you know, we might not know for 20 or 30 years what might happen if they don't have the fluoridation. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I had a card submitted with 6 names on it, and I think most of them have spoke, but I want to make sure. Is there a Wendy Tresher that hasn't spoke yet that wants to speak? Wendy? And then perhaps Helen Smiley?
Good evening.
Hi, welcome.
Hi, I'm Dr. Wendy Tresher. I live in New Smyrna Beach and practice there, but I had the good fortune of spending most of my elementary school years in Willow Run. So, Port Orange is...
Pull that mic a little bit closer to you. There you
thank
go.
you. Port Orange is like a second home to me. I just want to touch on a few things and commend all of you, because particularly you, Mr. Goetfer, for kind of really digging into these studies and kind of making some of these important points about the safety. I think I feel bad for the people who are really afraid of this, because I think that it is something that's safe. I think there's a lot of misinformation out there. And I think the IQs in Port Orange are pretty high. We have some of the best schools in the county in this city, if I'm not mistaken. So I think, that's one point to make. The other thing is that children are really the ones that are going to suffer from this. There are actually a lot of good studies about cities who have taken the fluoridation out of the water, and we see the childhood caries rising rapidly and dramatically in those cities. And that is a lifelong issue. And yeah, kids can go to the dentist and get that fixed if they have the means to do so, or they can go to the health department if that's available. But the fact of the matter is doing dentistry on kids is not a fun experience. It's traumatic for these kids, and a lot of times this leads to a lifetime of difficulty in dentistry, a lifetime of expense and pain. And even in affluent areas, fluoride has been shown to decrease childhood caries or cavities by 25%. So if we can prevent 25% of disease in kids, I think that that's important. And it is something that is worldwide the largest, most prevalent disease in kids. I think that's something to consider. So thank you guys for your careful consideration of this issue.
Thank you.
Helen Smiley? And then I think maybe Jan Westbury? Maybe?
Hi, Dr. Helen Smiley. I live here in Port Orange. I'm a dentist with my husband. We own a dental practice in the Pavilion. Just like what a lot of my colleagues spoke about, definitely see. We've seen what fluoride can do and what fluoride cannot do. And I have 3 young children living here in Port Orange, where I've spoken to it with my husband, my colleagues, and we're concerned for our own children. We're concerned about our community, where we know what's going to happen because we've seen it with our own eyes. And just like Dr. Tresher spoke about, it's traumatic for children whenever they need to get dental work done. As general dentists, if children are compliant, we can treat them in the office, but most children are going to be more comfortable going to see a pediatric dentist. And even with a great pediatric dentist here in town, access to care is still a big issue that we struggle with in our community, where we know that the issue is going to get far worse if we end up removing fluoride from the water system. And we just really want you guys to think about your citizens. I know we talked about putting it on the ballot, but there's so many things that we vote on you for, because we know that you will look at what's going to be best for the whole community. There's so many things in the water. The levels of bleach. Have we ever looked at the levels of bleach in the water? Why are we not talking about that in this city versus another city? But everybody just so zoned in on fluoride because one person published an article about fluoride, and it's attention grabbing, and it's just one of those things where, as dental professionals, we're the ones who most people would say would benefit most if fluoride is removed from the water system. But when I talk to all of my colleagues, I haven't spoken to anybody who is for this. That should be enough to tell you that it's not right for a water system. And I live here, with my young children. I have a 6-year-old, a 4-year-old. My son is going to be 2 on Sunday. So I have very young children who can benefit from this, or it could be detrimental to their well-being. So please consider everything that we've discussed, and I know that you'll make the right decision for us. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Is there a Jan Westbury?
Hello, I'm Jan Westbury. I was practicing dentist in New Smyrna Beach for 35 years. And what I would like for you to concentrate on is the real science. Mr. Goffard, I was very impressed with what you've done, and if you look at the real science, it's not a poison that you add to the water. You might add, there might be a poison that the fluoride is taken from something that you wouldn't want in the water, but it's just the fluoride that's put in the water, and the science shows that it's advantageous to have fluoride in the water to make the teeth stronger of the children and adults, because while the teeth are forming, the fluoride is put in. And there's good research to show that if you take the water out, there are consequences to the population. And I just want you to consider the real research. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else that did not fill out a card who wished to speak to? Come on up. Stan, you can be next.
Apis comitis. I practice in Port Orange, and I live in Wilbur by the Sea, so I get the water from you guys. The first thing that comes to mind is I've practiced almost 40 years, and I practiced before there was fluoride and saw the fillings that were being done. But what gets me is, why the hell am I here? I stand to gain by the fluoride being removed from the water, because I know firsthand that we will have more cavities. But I actually believe I want to help my patients. And I really want to help the patients who can't speak for us, the ones that can't afford the care. We have the Mission of Mercy at this weekend on Friday and Saturday. Please come. People drive for hours to come get free care. To think that the Volusia County Department takes care of these kids, there's too many of them. And I do agree with a lot of the people here who say it's against their rights for the fluoride to be put in. But isn't it against my rights to ask me 8% of my Volusia County tax to go to Halifax Hospital to pay for all the people that go there for dental treatment? That is the most ridiculous thing. Put somebody in an emergency room, the most expensive place, and then they can't even fix the teeth. So all these people behind me stand to benefit from taking the fluoride out, and we're speaking here for the health of our patients. I think you need to bring up the zoning guy, because you're going to need twice as many dentists when you take the fluoride out. And which is the most important cavity to stop? You know which one it is? The first one you get. Because when you get that first one, it's an in-between filling. That's a 2-surface filling. That 2-surface filling becomes a 3-surface filling. And then it becomes a crown, a root canal post, and all that other stuff. So I've kind of calculated on my own. I grew up with fluoridated water. When I moved here, we rented a house in the Fly, and it didn't have fluoridated water. I bought the Publix gallon that has fluoridated water in it and gave it to my kids. But I've calculated that if you grow up with fluoride and you practice decent dental hygiene, you will be able to, in your life, buy 1 new car. 40 grand. So if you want to take it out, people are not going to have as much money for the things that they need. And I'm all for dental hygiene, but you know what? They've done studies. If you've had fluoride, you don't need dental hygiene. And dental hygiene doesn't stop kids getting cavities at the beginning. It's strong teeth. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Councilman. Stan Schmidt, 5574 Trailside Drive. Recently retired CPA. Best tax season ever. I just want to talk to you guys tonight just from personal experience. I grew up on a farm in Iowa, and we lived on well water or whatever we collected off the rain system that went into a cistern. As a kid, I spent a ton of time in the dentist's office, and I have all kinds of fillings, which have now become caps, crowns, posts, all the fun stuff that we mentioned earlier. My daughter grew up here in Port Orange. The only time she's been to a dentist office was when she chipped her tooth on the wall of a pool at a swim meet. That's it. And she's been around here now 39 years. My granddaughter's been here now 8 years. I don't think she's been to a dentist either, other than just regular checkups and cleanings. I think we have to look at what's going on, and we can just see from our own examples. And you guys have all lived through this too. You've seen your kids grow up. You've seen all this kind of stuff. And yes, I understand there are some things that happen to people. It always, when you get into the body and the way it reacts with different things, you're going to have some bad outcomes. There's no doubt about that. But I think if you look at overall, the fluoride has been a good thing for the city of Port Orange. And again, you talk about the schools. These are the best schools in Volusia County right here in Port Orange. And so it's helped our kids, it's helped our community, and I recommend that you continue on and stay the course. Thank you.
Thank you, Stan. Is there anybody else? Going once, twice? Nope, come on. We had to coax you out of this chair.
Yeah. I was like, oh, I can
Nah,
send
come
an
on.
email.
Come on.
My name is Rose Moody. I've been a resident in Port Orange for like 45 years. I want to commend Sean for doing the studies. And I just wanted to let you know that my son got his master's degree at UF in environmental engineering and water he focused on. And he always told me, Mom, drink Port Orange water. It's the best. Don't buy any of the bottles. They're the worst thing out there. And they've got so much stuff in them. Now he has his PE degree and he still says the same thing. And so just wanted to tell you that I vote to just keep it in the water. They never had cavities either growing up here. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Rose. Appreciate you. All right, is that it? Back to council.
Mayor, I think I'd need to address.
Did you have something you want to?
Yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
think we've heard some legal things thrown out. I just want to kind of clear the record on that issue. The court case that's being referred to is a Northern District of California court that is not controlling your action here tonight.
Right.
What they've done is they've ordered the EPA to kind of reconsider the current threshold, the 0.7 current threshold. Our Florida courts have addressed this issue before, not as recently as the Northern District of California. However, as it sits today, the law that you're bound to follow is the district courts of Florida. Our district court has actually met this specific issue head on, this concept of right to refuse or right to choose medical treatment. Quoting from the 4th DCA, which there is no conflict, so this is the law of the land in Florida today. The city proposes to fluoridate the water before it enters each household in the city. It is not seeking to introduce the mineral directly into the customer's bloodstream. Therefore, the city's fluoridation of its water stops with the customer's water faucet. The city is not compelling the customer to drink it. The customer is free to filter it, boil it, distill it, mix it with purifying spirits, or purchase bottled drinking water. Customers' freedom to choose not to ingest fluoride remains intact. That's quoting directly from the Quiles case, which is, again, the most recent. It's in 2001 case out of the 4th DCA. There's been no disagreement among the district courts. That is the controlling law for you here today. I just want to make it clear.
All right. Anything else?
That was it.
That's it? All right. Councilman Foley, we'll start with you.
Well, I think I already said what I had to say in the beginning. I will say I appreciate everyone who took the time to come out tonight and to express your opinions. I appreciate the phone calls. I've had some really good conversations with people. I still believe that the best thing that we need to do is to allow this to go through the State House and Senate, because that process is already going on now. In fact, the first hearing was today. That's how closely I'm following this. And it passed, I want to say, on the House side. Through the first subcommittee. Either way, that's been my stance, and I'm kind of still in that position. I appreciate where everyone is coming from, but it sounds like there's a lot of testimony and a lot of evidence needs to be heard by people far more qualified than I. So.
Councilman Grubbs?
So I do appreciate everybody coming out tonight and having the conversation with us for or against, depending on what your views was. I will say that one of the strong things that we did not have last time was the outpouring of our dental community. And I want to thank you wholeheartedly for coming out. It's y'all that we need to hear. And I think a couple of you that said it, but you nailed the nail on the head when you said it would benefit you more monetarily to not have it. You know, and that speaks miles. I think people need to think about that sometimes when you have the dental community come out and state something like that. I agree with Councilman Foley. This is an issue that no matter what we decide today, it could be overturned within the next week or two with state legislation. So that's where we're at. We're in a quandary right now. So it's something that we need to think about on our options that we're going forward with.
Councilman Gifford.
Well, the first thing I want to say is I apologize if I sounded like I don't have empathy. That is not the case at all. And I've reached out to the people who've said some things in emails that weren't correct. I want to clarify a few things. That I do work for a research company, and I'm not a scientist. I'm a marketing director. I'm a recruiter. But I have empathy for people who are suffering. That's what we do. We take care of people who have neurological diseases, who have general medicine diseases, and I have empathy for people. But I also have a duty to all the people in my city to make decisions up here. And I don't take them lightly. I have done extensive research. And I love the compassion that people have that have feelings about this subject. And I do too. And I just have done my research, and I don't mind talking about when someone mentions something that I've read it and I feel differently about it, and we're okay to disagree. But I have to make decisions, and we have to make decisions what's best for everyone in this city, and that's what I will do, and that's why I was elected to do that. And I want to mention that, when I ran for this position and to represent the citizens of this city, not one mentioned anything about fluoride. It wasn't until our meeting started after I got elected that it was an issue. And I get the issue. I understand you want to get a product that's healthy. And I think this city does a damn good job. Matter of fact, correct me if I'm wrong, City Manager, we have a cup permit. That's a consumer use permit. That's been for 20 years now. We've extended it. We have like a 20-year use permit now. When they usually give it in increments of 5, that's how good our water is taken care of.
Yeah, it's not the quality of the water, but it's what we do with it.
What we do with the water. Okay. I'm sorry?
It's more related to how much of it we use and conserve. So it's related to pulling it out of the aquifer.
Okay.
So because we have reclaimed water and other sources, and we have ways to minimize the use of water, how we handle irrigation and things. So we do less pulling of the water out. So it's more about the volume.
Thank you for helping me with that one. I just want to, that's why I ask. I'm not going to be just a seat in a chair here. I'm going to get my facts correct. Has there been any OSHA issues with the additive that we use at our plants since 1982?
So the Public Utilities Director and I don't go back that far, but I'm not aware of any that we've had in throughout history.
Okay. Thank you. May I ask another question? Do we have standards when it comes to using the disinfectants? I'm looking at our water guy in the crowd. Can I ask you to come forward? And I'm sorry to do this, but this is an important decision for me, and I want to make sure I've got some things clear. The only reason why it was brought up that we don't have MSD sheets, is that what it is?
MSDS.
MSDS sheets?
SDS.
Yeah,
Okay, very good.
Yes, we do.
So, and can you state who you are?
Steve
for the
Parnell,
record?
Public Utility Director.
Okay, so you work in the water, the water that we provide, correct? And I've been to your plant.
Yes, sir.
And
Oversee that.
And it's over, and we're looking at that water on how often? A day?
Daily.
Daily.
Hourly, actually.
Hourly, correct. Since you've been there, have you ever had an issue with OSHA when it comes to hydrofluoric acid?
No, sir.
Thank you. With the chlorine that we use to disinfect it, have we ever had an issue there?
No.
Thank you. So it's safe. The operation you guys conduct at our facility is obviously safe because we haven't had any issues.
Correct. All the employees have the proper PPE. We follow the SDS. We treat all the chemicals the same.
Okay, I'm not a chemist, but I just so happen to have a son-in-law who's a chemistry major. When you take hydrofluoric acid and you add it to water, what happens to it?
It reacts, produces fluoride.
Can you repeat that?
It reacts, produces the fluoride, and then we dose it to the appropriate level.
Okay, thank you. If you did not add that to our water, would there be fluoride in our water?
Correct. Our incoming raw water, I believe, in our groundwater is at a point, I have it here, 0.18 milligrams per liter. So a 0.2 we would have coming in.
So we already have fluoride coming in our water, so we can't really remove it. It's coming.
Correct.
But we're adding it to the levels that the CDC has recommended for public health, which has been, I think one of the dentists mentioned, was one of the top 10 accomplishments in the United States, based on the CDC. Is that correct? Are you aware of that?
Not aware of that.
That's probably not his.
Yeah, that's not my wheelhouse.
That's okay. I'm glad you answered that way, because it actually is. And one of our dentists who could actually make a lot of money in the future if we remove this, which blows my mind. You care about the individuals that came up that actually work in this profession, actually care about our people. They're putting the health of our citizens first before their business. I wish our car salesman would do that. That's a joke. I know one. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate your time. I told Steve I would probably ask him to come up because I wanted clarification on a few things, because there have been comments made to me about how this could be dangerous, but we handle it professionally and we monitor it daily and hourly. Correct? Thank you so much.
Anything else?
I think I've said enough.
All right. Councilman Green?
I'm going to be honest, I'm very much on the fence on this whole subject and have been since day one. I see benefits. And I also see, I guess, question as to, again, the approval of a citizen wanting it in their water. I get it. I'm with Councilman Foley on this, and I'd like to see how the state rules on this within the next couple of sessions, and I would be willing to propose that we table this issue until the next meeting, as far as any vote goes on any resolution regarding this matter.
Anything additional? Just on that comment, maybe the city attorney could weigh in, or the city manager, but so with regard to state legislation, I'm not sure when this session ends, but even after the session ends, you're talking about probably till July before the governor would have an opportunity to sign, right? Or deny.
That varies. So you may want to table indefinite. If that's where we're going, I would agree with you, Mayor, that I think an indefinite tabling until you have some state action on the issue would be just fine, if that's where we're going. But I'm with you. That can be, they can do that immediate. We just got some immigration stuff that went immediate. That can be July. It can be January 1. I mean, they may, build some buffer for the consideration of taking down equipment that fluoridates, and there's a lot that goes to that. So I think that would be helpful to have a little bit of time.
All right. And we'll come back to that. I didn't want to have you make a motion for the next meeting and the state's still dealing with it.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
All right. So I want to say thank you to everybody on both sides of the debate or issue, whatever you want to call it. You guys have come here tonight. You've been very respectful. You've spoke very openly. A lot of folks have done a lot of research. There's a great, vast level of education and information, and I think the way you guys have all come forward, and I know public speaking isn't easy for everybody, so again, I just want to say thank you, and I appreciate all of that information coming forward. A lot of that information has been provided to us. We've had an opportunity to review it, look at the history of the city and fluoridation, which dates back to 1982. Somebody, by the way, I just want to say I wasn't born in the 50s. Somebody aged me here a little bit tonight. But in any regard, so it's back to council at this point. We have some options here. You guys have to be able to make a motion here. Some options that have been put on the agenda for tonight is option 1. We can move to continue adding fluoride to the city's water supply as is. Option 2 would be to move to approve a resolution which has been pre-written in the event that is your decision, to discontinue the addition of fluoride in the city's water supply. And then option 3 could be something totally different, which I think you guys have already talked about. So if anybody has a motion, now would be the time to put it on the floor.
Well, before motion, if I may, Mayor, for just a quick second, I think that I want to make sure I say this properly. I think we want to be very respectful to staff and to the residents and everyone who is so concerned on this one topic. I don't think we want to continue to table this, and for people who care about the issue of fluoridation to have to continuously come back to our meetings, waiting for us to hear the same remarks and to kind of rehash what's been talked about now for the better part of 2 months. So I think whatever we decide to do, we want to make sure it is somewhat of is a decisive decision, motion here. Just my recommendation on that. If we decide that we want to keep it, unless the state says otherwise, then we might want to go that way with a motion. Or if we're leaning towards getting rid of it altogether, that's another conversation as well. I just don't know that we want to continuously have this keep popping up on the agenda and having all these people come forward and spend their time here in our chambers presenting the same information we've already heard.
So did you have a motion you wanted to put forth, or?
My motion would be that we continue to fluoridate the water until the state makes a decision saying otherwise.
Is there a second for Councilman Reed's motion?
I would second that.
We have a motion and a second.
Can I, Mayor, as a point of clarification, is that then to reconsider, or is that to end it if the state were to weigh in and say, recommending ending it? Is that just coming back to council for consideration once state has taken an action?
Yes.
Just want to know what happens at the end.
Yeah, I think I want us to come, once the state has decided, then we can have another meeting on this, and that is when we can make our final decision.
Okay.
So what are we voting on then?
I guess-
I don't understand. Huh?
Continue the practice of
So there's the motion on the floor, and that has been seconded, is the continued practice as is
So we're
until
on
the state.
option 1?
Not
Is that what we're
necessarily.
Not necessarily, it's kind of an option.
Sounds like it's a
3.
blend of option 1 until the state ends their session and just see if they make a final decision, which the state's either gonna not move it forward, it'll die in committee, or it'll get passed by the state legislature, then has to be signed by the governor.
Well, and if you want to talk about, if somebody has another motion opinion, I'm willing to hear it out. Like I said, I just think we need to make something kind of decisive.
Just as a matter of discussion, if we're making a motion to continue adding fluoride to the city's water supply pending something that the state could come down and say, hey, y'all have to remove it, every municipality in the state of Florida.
Then that's over.
It's over. So the state could come back and recommend that you remove it and doesn't force us to remove it. So
Then that would have to come back for discussion in a vote.
then, yes, exactly. So you're leaving it open-ended for this fluoridation to continue on indefinitely if we don't bring it back.
Do you have another motion you'd like to make? I'll rescind mine. All right, I'll rescind my motion. Sounds like I don't have a second anyway. So.
No, I had
Second.
seconded.
Okay, all right.
I had
You have a
seconded.
motion and a
Just,
second.
just to get the discussion, so we can clarify, because you had used the word recommended to remove it. Then it comes back to us to say, hey, the state says we recommend you to move it. We have our attorney, not attorney general, he'll probably get involved, but our surgeon general is recommending, the discontinuation of it, but the state's not recommending it. They could come back and say, we're telling you to remove it, and at that time, we just have to remove it.
Well, it's kind of what the bill.
That's what the bills
are
are
right
now.
now.
Yeah.
To
The bills that
recommend
I'm
to remove
referring
it?
to
It's to
is
remove it,
to-
so then we don't need to, we could just continue the fluoridation and then let them decide what they're gonna do.
Vote on it. Vote on it.
So then that's why I'm saying I can rescind my motion, and you can make one to just continue with option 1, and then we continue with that indefinitely, unless the state does something else.
The state's gonna tell us
Is that
what
what
to
you want
do.
me? If you'd like to, I'm more than happy to rescind my motion, and then you can make that for option 1.
I think it gives clarification on what we're gonna
Okay,
vote
then
on.
then I guess I'm going to rescind my motion.
Okay.
All right, did you want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we choose option 1, move to continue adding fluoride to the city's water supply.
All right, do I have a second? It's gonna die without a second, guys. So if you're gonna alter the motion, you gotta have a second to put it for a vote.
To just continue going no matter what.
That's his
State changes the
his
law, you
motion
gotta
is
do what the
continue
state tells you
doing
to
it
do.
The state
as you are.
changes the law, so
Right.
there's
And
no
you don't need to have a
say
motion
either
to do what
way.
the state tells you to do.
Right.
Right.
no
If the state comes
perpetual-
down, we don't
right.
need a motion. That's why I'm saying the state's gonna rule on this, because it's in committee, and it very well could rule on it. And then we'll have to act. There's not a choice at that time. It's state mandated.
Correct.
We have a motion on the floor, we gotta have a second in order to have a vote, or the motion will die. We will move, look for another motion.
It was the same motion that you put out there to begin with.
Well, no, that's indefinitely. I still want to revisit this whenever the state's done reviewing what they're going to review, because you never know what's going to come up during their process.
You can do that anytime
You can do that, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, then I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on it? On the motion to continue fluoridating the city's water as is, call the roll.
Councilman Foley?
Yes.
Councilman Gupper?
Yes.
Councilman Green?
No.
Vice Mayor Gross?
Yes.
Mayor Summer?
No. 3-2 to continue fluoridating as is. Moving on to council committee reports, item 22A, First Step Shelter.
We had our,
Councilman Gupper.
yes, we had our meeting, we went over the budget, they're healthy financially, and things are going good there. When we go on to Port Orange, South Daytona Chamber of Commerce.
Sure.
They have a ribbon cutting tomorrow, and they had a new member reception today. They had 7 new members for this past month, and they're looking very good. And they have a business after hours at Masterpiece Jewelers, and and then a Tasteful Affairs in April. So good things are going on.
Good, yeah, that Tasteful Affair is a great event, by the way. Vice Mayor Grubbs, tell us about Art House, and then I want to thank you if you could also talk about the roundtable elected officials meeting that you attended on my behalf while we were working on some stuff in Tallahassee.
Art House had their annual update and gala that they did, and just late night, so we'll just cut to the chase here. Some of the highlights was showing that Art House raised over $17,000 to raise money for the Volusia County schools and the classrooms, where teachers can come in and ask for supplies and things of that nature to add to it. One of the figures that was thrown out for the school system's arts programs is the students average out to about 32 cents for the year for art supplies. I was kind of blown away by that. So any type of money and raising of money for the school systems is greatly needed, and they did $17,000 to them. Tuition base and supplies base for Art House scholarships was another $13,000 that they did, and children attending Art House classes and camps over the summer was over 3,420 kids.
Wow.
For the camp programs. They're looking to increase that the upcoming year. Program and our facility that they're in has really earmarked, I think, the city of Port Orange as a highlight of them being there. So it's continued in their fashion. I think Susan slipped out. Okay, so Susan was actually, with Parks and Recreation, was awarded an awardment for Art House and the Parks and Recreation in joining, and then at the same time, myself and other partners got into Art House Community Partner of the Year Award for 2024.
Right on.
So
Good.
that came about through leaderships down there, is just growing and growing. And as Cameron was here last time talking, she talked about expanding the arts, not to just be paintings. It's going to be music and other avenues that they're going. So it's going to be cool to see how she brings it all together. I think they're going to run out of room personally, is what's going to happen.
One of the things, if you could at a meeting maybe just kick the idea around, and maybe this will be something for council to discuss further, and the city manager can enlighten us on codes and ordinances. But as you travel around the state of Florida, large murals on buildings is growing in popularity, and they're awesome. I mean, they look fabulous, and it's a really great way to kind of jazz up the city, and especially in the older areas. And I'm kind of curious, are cities creating ordinance and opportunities for that, or organizations like Art House spearheading that? Like, how's that happening? You know, and of course you've got to identify the places for that, but they're pretty impressive, and they're really they fit the coastal community vibe, so to speak.
Yeah, something that's been kind of cool is, I challenged her for a 2-year, 5-year, 10-year plan. And what that is looking at, we get these first murals done on the columns. That goes all the way to the water.
Yeah.
And then they're going to wrap the bridge. And it's like, well, that's east side. Now we got to get west side done. So that's that 5 and 10-year outlook. Because it's raising a ton of money to be able to do it. Those first columns and everything is at the tune of almost $70,000. They're using paints and things that when people go and you have to think about this stuff. I didn't think about it, but they think about this stuff of graffiti and having paints that they can go in those murals and just wipe them down afterwards, and the graffiti's gone. So you're right, it's uniquely to see, but on international travels, they're doing murals that are mosaics underneath all the bridges and everything else. It's really, really cool to see other countries doing the same thing.
Tell us about the roundtable, and by the way, I may ask you to touch on what you're going to touch on tonight at our workshop, but go ahead.
Okay. So roundtable meeting was elected officials for Volusia County of all the cities. They had some really, really cool stuff. They brought a subcommittee together for stormwater at that committee. They had their first meeting of their findings. Some of the things was dealing with, the project fundings and grants like Transform 386, which Wayne and his staff has been talking about quite a bit. This is where we're gathering money to bring back to us. FEMA, Elevate Florida programs, stuff that is already going on that we do already very well in Port Orange, but they're taking it to expand it so that people in all of Volusia County, not just in the cities, can come in to try to get more funding for their programs. Matching fundings for the county. The beauty of having matching funding of the county looking for money is just like when we go to look for money. We get that matching funding, but if we got echo grants and fundings that are coming from stormwater also from the county side, then that will help us with more funding coming into our projects. I know we talked quickly about it earlier tonight, dealing with Tallahassee having ready-built projects. 16 cities, and inside 16 cities we have very few, 3, that have ready-made projects. So council, before my time, only 2 people left up here during this time frame, coming forward to have a stormwater management master plan being put together. That it's just tremendous what you did, because now as it's coming forward, this money is just now coming available. All these other cities don't have a master plan. So it's going to allow us to come into funding a little bit easier from state and county levels, hopefully, to come into us also. But
certainly hope that's the case.
Yeah, me too.
It's quite the investment we've made. So
everything on it, so I'm going to pass that to you.
Thank you, my
from
friend.
the meeting.
Is that all for now?
That is it for now.
All right, just a reminder that our next meeting is a workshop. That is Tuesday, March the 25th. That is a stormwater workshop, and we'll be talking about the stormwater master plan. That meeting starts at 5:30.
Yes.
For those who have a tendency to be here at 6:30. Be here early, 5:30. Anything else to come before us tonight? All right, have a good night.